Chapter 819. In Jing Xiu's eyes, the chi flow of the divine central continent was like a raging fire. However, devil chi was slowly seeping out from beneath the Sin province. It was a powerful devil chi that could attack at any moment, sweep through the entire continent, and destroy everything that the Yonko had worked so hard to establish. The devil race is really going all out this time, Jing Xiu thought. Many elder devils that have never been seen since time immemorial have appeared. As he observed, a look of shock appeared on Jing Xiu's face. He had known that the devil race was gathering again for an invasion. However, his cultivation base hadn't been high enough at the time, and he hadn't been able to see through many of their secrets. Now that he was dozens of times stronger, he could sense the auras of chaos elder devils and even more mysterious existences. That Gu Chansha, the Celestial Calmness Department, is unfathomably strong. He might be able to hold back the devil race, but defeating them won't be easy. That's especially true considering that the devil race is only one aspect of the attack. The Celestial Calmness Department has too many enemies. The Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, and the Eastern Wasteland Alliance. Besides that, there's also the Emperor Heaven, the Chosen Ones, and many other ancient existences, as well as many celestial sovereigns of the Thousand Worlds. Furthermore, there are many old-timers hiding in the depths of the Endless Continent. If I use the Devil Disaster as a lure, then they all swarm in. The Celestial Calmness Department and the Imperial Court will definitely collapse. When that happens, heroes will rise up, and the most chaotic era will come. My chance has come. Jing Xiu was secretly delighted to see the devil race gathering in such large numbers. He wanted to see how the Celestial Calmness Department would deal with them. Just as he was planning out how to operate and waiting for the final opportunity, a heaven-destroying, earth-shattering sound rang out from the devil domain in the depths of the Sin province. In the blink of an eye, it had spread out through countless space-time. Even with Jing Xiu's cultivation base, he was so startled that he almost fell to the ground. His heart was pounding, and his hair stood on end. He felt like he was about to be scared to death. Then, he saw an incredible scene. The first layer of the devil realm had been completely obliterated. It had completely vanished from the myriad worlds, never to exist again. The stronghold between the first and second layers of the devil realm had also been bombarded to pieces. Countless devils had been obliterated on the spot, and countless experts had died. Many of the old-timers of the devil race had been seriously injured, and no one knew where they had gone. However, the demon-subduing fortress still steadily fell into the second layer of the demon domain without suffering any damage. The great formations and military fortresses of the devil race, which had been assembled by countless races, were unexpectedly broken by the sudden shock. What is it? This is the power of the boundless world's explosion. Jing Xiu almost fell to his knees. He was completely stunned. In the face of this kind of power, he knew that if a bolt of lightning struck down, his barren land would no longer exist. All of his painstaking calculations were not worth mentioning in the face of this kind of power. At this time, a voice rang out across the divine continent. "My subjects, the people of the world, the devil race has attacked. They have gathered a great army and are overbearing in their desire to destroy the divine continent. However, the head of the Celestial Tranquility Department, Prince Gu Qinsha, has activated the most powerful divine ability, the Wrath of the Emperor Heaven, and defeated the devil race in one fell swoop. Now the devil race has collapsed everywhere and is no longer a threat. All of you can enter the devil domain and kill the devil race to accomplish your deeds." This was the Celestial Tranquility Department's propaganda. Gu Qinsha's majesty was manifested here, and it was increasingly ingrained in the hearts of the people. At this moment, Jing Xiu seemed to feel that the Yonko's destiny and destiny of the nation seemed to have been splashed with a ladle of oil, rising into a raging fire that reached the horizon. Adding oil to a raging fire. The nation's destiny was prosperous. At this moment, the Yonko's nation's destiny had reached a level where it could interfere with reality and distort time and space. It could be said that since ancient times, the nation's destiny had never reached such a level. The wrath of the Emperor Heaven, the wrath of the Emperor Heaven. Jing Qiu muttered. The devil race collapsed under the strike of this lightning. It is indeed the Emperor Heaven's wrath. Could it be that the Emperor Heaven has fallen into the hands of Gu Qinsha? If that's the case, all of my plans can't be played. Jing Qiu had originally obtained the origin of the innocuous heavenly king and could quickly cultivate a peerless great Tao. He had also obtained the recognition of the entire desolate desert, and he was about to go all out. However, the divine lightning in the devil domain had shattered all of his hopes, and he seemed to have completely lost his confidence. Ha ha! At this moment, Jing Fanqing laughed maniacally. Jing Qiu, you've schemed everything, but you're still lacking. You can't compare to the Celestial Tranquility Department. I originally hated that Gu Qinsha to the extreme, but now I feel that he is the true overlord. All of your schemes were in vain. I hate it. If only I could change my thinking at that time and join the Celestial Tranquility Department, I definitely wouldn't be in this situation now. I would definitely hold great power and be all-powerful. How could I be like now, like a dead dog? Jing Fanqing, you've lost all of your glory and dignity, and you actually want to rely on the Celestial Tranquility Department. Have you forgotten that your fiancé, Wu Dangkong, was forcibly summoned into the palace by Gu Taxian, and our Jing family was destroyed by the Celestial Tranquility Department? How many disciples died? Now that you've sacrificed yourself for the family, it's nothing. Besides, I'll still nurture you. When I devour the other heavenly kings, I'll make you a celestial master, or even stronger. What you've invested now will be greatly rewarded in the future. Don't you understand this? Jing Qiu's expression grew calm. Gu Qinsha actually defeated the alliance of the devils. Now I have to re-evaluate his and the Celestial Tranquility Department's strength. He might have the upper hand for now, but that doesn't mean I don't have any reserves. Just you wait. I'll make the Jing family a true overlord, and I, Jing Qiu, will become the Emperor of Heaven. Jing Qiu hadn't had such thoughts at first, but after devouring the essence of the innocuous heavenly king and obtaining the power of the Kiliacosm of desolation, his ambitions began to swell like a balloon. I'll wait and see. Jing Fanqing curled up into a ball, looking like a beggar. It was impossible to tell what he was thinking. In the depths of space-time, Gu Qinsha was sitting cross-legged, recovering his energy. I never would have guessed that I would be able to summon the fury of the Emperor of Heaven, an imitation of the Yorwild's Dragon Gate's most powerful attack, the Kiliacosm Dragon Thunder. It's so powerful, but also so draining. I won't be able to unleash an attack like this for at least 2 or 3 months. Gu Qinsha had used the wrath of a heavenly emperor to destroy the Devil Alliance's stronghold in one fell swoop. It was impossible to say how many monsters he had killed, but many of the old-timers hadn't been killed. In fact, they had only been seriously injured. However, they had been scared out of their wits and had quickly fled into the depths of the Devil Domain. In this way, the originally aggressive demon race would immediately collapse, and the army and experts of the Eternal Dynasty would seize the opportunity to attack. They would definitely be able to obtain even more benefits. Not only would this greatly increase the fate of the imperial court and the country, but Gu Qinsha's personal cohesiveness would also reach an unprecedented peak. Your Highness Qinsha is invincible. He's the hegemon of the age, sweeping away all wretched devils. One lightning to destroy 10,000 devils, and even the first layer of the devil domain was wiped out. That's right. I thought the imperial court would fall into a bitter struggle, but I never imagined that a single lightning strike would cause the devils to collapse. This is all thanks to your Highness. The Celestial Pacification Department is invincible. Your Highness's methods are unfathomable. With the Celestial Pacification Department, in our empire, there's nothing to worry about. Countless thoughts came from the sky and gathered on Gu Qinsha's body. The Celestial Pacification Department had long since sent out the Commander-in-Chief, as well as all sorts of propaganda channels. In the blink of an eye, news of Gu Qinsha's lightning destruction of the Devil Domain had spread far and wide. Things were different now than they had been 14 years ago. In the past, News would take several days or even a month to reach the capital. If it were to spread to the rest of the world, it would probably take half a year or even a year. However, things were completely different now. The imperial court's celestial pacification department had already established a Skynet system. There were channels of publicity in every major city and even in small villages. In almost an instant, important news could spread throughout the world and let everyone know. Compared to before, the efficiency had increased by more than 10,000 times. Just this alone meant that the destiny of the empire would be thousands of times more condensed than before. In the past, the imperial court was actually very far away in the hearts of the common people. But now, all the common people could feel that the imperial court was always by their side. Their voices could be heard by the imperial court immediately, and at the same time, the imperial court's voice could also be heard by them. In this way, there was no barrier between the imperial court and the common people. Gu Chench's achievements instantly spread throughout the entire empire. In the vast territory, countless people were sincerely thanking him, worshiping him, and even worshiping him. In an instant, the thoughts and the hearts of these people gathered on him, and then they were all injected into the divine land gourd. He refined them, and his strength recovered extremely quickly. Looks like I've still underestimated the power of the hearts of the people. Gu Chensha sighed. If the hearts of the people continue to boil like this, it won't even take 2 or 3 months. In just 2 or 3 days, I'll be able to completely recover the power of the attack just now. If the destiny of the empire increases again, and I unite the hundreds of billions of common people of the Glyph dynasty, then I'll be able to unleash the wrath of the Emperor of Heaven without stopping. Who would be a match for me then? Gu Chench's attack needed a long time to build up, and it also consumed a lot of energy. But if he united the world, and united the hundreds of billions of common people of the Glyph dynasty with the imperial court, then not only would his cultivation base increase, but he would also be able to unleash the wrath of the Emperor of Heaven without even needing to build up. In this way, one Senshi, the 3 celestials, and the alliance of Patriarch Heaven and Earth would all be like clay chickens and pottery dogs. He would be able to go up to them and take the Heaven's sacrifice decree, the endless heart, and the black gate of heaven and earth. Chapter 820. 1 second remember 09 to provide you with exciting reading. Chapter 817. The situation's spiraling out of control. Now that I've defeated the demon race's temporary alliance, the world will have peace for at least a year, and the quality of life will improve many times over. Not counting the hundreds of billions of people in the Fan dynasty, our overall population is close to 40 billion. In the final phase of the 36 years of the Heavenly Talisman, everyone must achieve superior aptitude, and then 20% will become geniuses. And the number of natural-born saints will exceed tens of thousands. 09. Small Say Net. 09. Gu Chansha secretly observed the world, and he already had some understanding of the upcoming great calamity. There are still about 10 months until the 36 years of the Heavenly Talisman. At that time, the population would be 40 billion, and if 20% became geniuses, there would be billions of geniuses. Coupled with the tens of thousands of natural-born saints, it would be an enormous number. No dynasty or empire could have so many geniuses. In truth, the fate of an empire depended not on the number of people, but on the quality of the population. In history, many empires with large populations were completely conquered by empires with smaller populations by 10 times or even dozens of times. Such examples could be found everywhere. In terms of military strength, the weak triumphed over the strong. There were many examples of a few thousand soldiers defeating an army of hundreds of thousands. According to Gu Chench's idea, if the world could complete this transformation, then the purity and quantity of his sacrificial power would increase to a terrifying level. He could use this power to complete many of his cultivation, because the sacrificial power of the people could extract substances that could not be extracted from the primal chaos. In this way, he would not even need to devour the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Chansha, to push his strength to the celestial Lord realm. Because he controlled the divine central continent, he was now the only ruler of the divine central continent to the living beings and people of the divine central continent. Naturally, he could enjoy the great fortune of the divine central continent. In the future, the divine central continent would be the heavenly court. Gu Chunsha now controlled the divine central continent. In a sense, he was already preparing to fight for the position of Emperor of Heaven in the future. He was confident that no one could run the divine central continent better than he could. Seeing countless people and experts rush into the demon realm and begin to slaughter the demons, Gu Chunsha nodded and left. The devil race would definitely make a comeback. The next time they gathered, it would be even bigger. Moreover, not only the devil race, but the monster race would also appear. Even Gu Chunsha had to be prepared for this. If I become a heavenly venerate now, I can directly destroy many alliances. Gu Chunsha calculated for a moment and suddenly looked at Mo Huang. A smile appeared on his face. Jing Xiu, the reincarnation of the endless river, and Jing Fanxing, the innocuous heavenly king. Jing Xiu has finally obtained the heart of Mo Huang and the power of the boundless world. His strength is already very strong, but he hasn't achieved anything yet. Now is the time to plunder. His body flashed. In the next moment, they arrived at the center of the desert, in the central temple of the Holy Sama Empire. At this time, Jing Xiu had yet to recover from Gu Chunsha's attack. Gu Chunsha had already appeared in front of him. Gu Chunsha, you actually came. There was absolute understanding in Jing Xiu's eyes. He seemed to have made up his mind. Are you here to destroy my empire, take my boundless river, and obtain the source of innocuous heavenly king? That depends on whether you can adapt to the circumstances. Gu Chunsha looked at Jing Fanxing, who was curled up in the corner, and couldn't help but shake his head. This kid's fate is to be harvested. If I don't harvest him, he will be harvested by his own people. Jing Xiu, I won't kill you. However, if you submit to my calming immortal department, I can confer you the title of king, the king of the desert. However, the faith of the Holy Sama Empire must change. Believe in the principles of our calming immortal department. How about that? That way, you can enjoy power forever. 09, small, say net. 09, if the Holy Samar Empire does not believe in me, is it still an empire? What's the point of me ruling the entire empire? Jing Xiu's expression didn't change. Gu Chunsha, your calming immortal department can be tyrannical for a while, but when the Emperor of Heaven descends, he will truly restrain you. When that time comes, your destiny will greatly decline. Moreover, everything you do now will be a wedding dress for the Emperor of Heaven. Placing your hopes on the illusory Emperor of Heaven, Jing Xiu, you are a pragmatic person. How could you be so stupid? Moreover, you may not be loyal to the Emperor of Heaven. I think your idea is to devour them one by one. After devouring Jing Fanxing's origin of the innocuous heavenly king, you want to devour the other heavenly kings. In the future, if you devour the 9 heavenly kings and reach an inconceivable realm, you can devour the Emperor of Heaven and sit on the throne of Emperor of Heaven. It's good to have ambition, but too much ambition doesn't match your strength. That's a troublesome thing. Gu Chunsha said slowly, there's one more thing. Do you think that if you don't surrender now, you can escape my attack? Of course. Jing Xiu said slowly, you use the Emperor of Heaven's wrath to defeat the demons. Such a powerful attack consumes too much energy. It can't be used for long. If you could attack continuously, the world would have been yours long ago. I'm sure that you won't be able to use such great power again. I'm now united with desolation. Not only do I use the endless river to stimulate desolation's vitality, but I also use the innocuous heavenly king's destiny to nourish desolation. If you want to suppress me by force, it's not impossible. But do you think that I don't have a way to take you down with me? Take you down with me? Gu Chunsha looked at Jing Xiu for a long time, then smiled. Jing Xiu, you really have a trick up your sleeve. If I push you too hard, you'll use your innocuous heavenly king's origin as a sacrifice to desolation's heart, and then cause all of desolation to self-destruct and be completely destroyed. In that case, it will definitely affect the divine central continent, causing great damage to the divine central continent and destroying the destiny of our dynasty, right? As expected of the head of the Department of Tranquility, you even know my last resort. Jing Qiu's face remained expressionless. If I didn't have a trick up my sleeve when fighting with you, I would have ended up like Jing Fanqing long ago. My trick can't hurt you, but it will cause serious damage to the balance of the divine central continent. You should be able to consider the consequences. Self-destructing desolation. This was Jing Qiu's method of taking him down with him. Desolation belonged to the vast thousand domains, and it had been closely linked to the divine central continent since ancient times. The four wilds could be said to be the four guards of the divine central continent. If any one of them were lost, the divine central continent would suffer great damage, and it would take hundreds of years for it to recover. Jing Qiu originally could not control desolation, but things were different now. By using the innocuous heavenly king's origin as a sacrifice, he could use desolation to threaten the divine central continent. Of course, after self-destructing desolation, he would certainly die in it, but there was no other way. Otherwise, he would not have been able to threaten the Department of Tranquility and Guqin Sha. In truth, Patriarch Heaven and Earth and the Black Gate of Heaven and Earth are doing the same thing. They have already secretly taken control of the Eastern Wasteland's heart, and you can't interfere at all. Aside from that, even the Wildland's heart is being plotted against by some old fogies, and it will be difficult for you to continue. As for the Desolate Sea heart, it has fallen into the hands of one person. Although you control the divine central continent, it is only an empty shell. Jing Qiu said, and even if it is the divine central continent, you only control the common people of the divine central continent. There is no way you can control the divine central continent's essence and heart. Aside from that, the divine central continent's heart will eventually fall into the hands of Emperor Heaven. Do you know that? Jing Qiu, it seems like you know a lot of things. Guqin Sha said, I've been too busy recently. I had to deal with the Great Spirit, God, entering the untainted Dragon Gate, deal with the Grand Burning King, save Chong Weiyong, search for the Emperor Heaven, defeat the Devil Race, and then deal with you. I have delayed a few important matters. Indeed, the Four Wilds hearts are extremely important. Patriarch Heaven and Earth has the Eastern Wasteland's heart. You have the Desolate Desert heart, and someone else has already secretly taken control of the Wildland's heart and the Desolate Sea heart. If the Emperor Heaven comes out and takes control of the divine central continent, any rule I have will become an empty shell, right? That's right. On the surface, you have ruled over the divine central continent and sent your power into the Four Wilds. But if the essences of the Four Wilds refuse to acknowledge you and reject you, you and your people will be rejected by the essences of the world. What good will that be? Jing Qiu became carefree. Countless people think that your department of calming immortals is mighty now, but to those who have truly reached my level, it is actually as dangerous as a pile of eggs. As long as the Emperor Heaven comes out and takes control of the divine central continent, your department of calming immortals will immediately fall apart. In truth, there is one more thing. If you oppress me now, the other essences of Arid Triad will come to support you. Guqin Sha, no matter how strong you are, it is impossible for you to fight against the essences of Arid Triad alone, right? You seem to have a point. Guqin Sha nodded, but his tone suddenly changed. That's a good thing. If there's no challenge, then I'll find it boring. I'm the ruler of heaven and earth, and I've changed the will of heaven. It wouldn't be normal if everything was smooth sailing. Also, Jing Qiu, you said something about dying together with us. You sounded so logical, which made me think that you were really someone who would sacrifice yourself for justice. But I know that you won't self-destruct, and you won't give up on your life either. That's why I have no qualms about capturing you and refining you. Besides, even if you self-destruct, you will only damage the divine central continent. You won't be able to cause much damage to it. So why should I be afraid? That's why I kneel down. Guqin Sha moved casually, and a great power came crashing down on Jing Qiu, causing his entire body to creak. Even his endless river, the essence of innocuous heavenly king, and the power of desolation's heart could not withstand it. He was about to kneel down for real. Impossible. Impossible. How could you be so strong? Jing Qiu was shocked. Logically speaking, I should have been able to hold you off for days and nights, or even longer. How could I not be able to hold you off for even a moment? Mobile users, please visit read for a better reading experience. Chapter 821. Even though Jing Qiu had a very high opinion of Gu Qinsha, he still felt that he had underestimated Gu Qinsha when it came down to it. He thought that with his own strength, he would be able to hold on for a few days. At that time, the major powers of the world and other factions would come to save him. He had the desolate heart and would have a great future. He would be the target of many people. Moreover, many people would not allow Gu Qinsha and the Calming Xian department to expand again. If the Calming Xian department controlled the four wastelands, they would basically be unshakable. Now that the four wastelands had fallen into someone else's hands, Jing Qiu felt that the Calming Xian department was actually in a precarious situation. That was why he dared to openly oppose Gu Qinsha. And now, as soon as Gu Qinsha made a move, he felt a great deal of pressure. He could not hold on at all. He showed signs of collapsing as they exchanged blows. He could be annihilated at any time. Jing Qiu, think about that great burning heavenly king Xiaoyan. His cultivation level is higher than yours. Moreover, he has 7 endless treasures and the great burning dynasty that controls hundreds of billions of people. Even he is no match for me. He was defeated by me and almost died. In the end, I took away 7 endless treasures. You only have 1 endless treasure now. You have not completely refined the heavenly king's source. How can you fight me? And compared to when I fought the great burning heavenly king Xiaoyan, my strength has increased a lot. The 7 endless treasures have all been melted and refined into my divine prefecture gourd. Naturally, you cannot fight me. Even if you can use the desolate heart, I can use the divine prefecture source to suppress you. Gu Qinsha said slowly. However, you can self-destruct now. I really can't stop you. Gu Qinsha's words were very mocking. Jing Qiu, if you don't self-destruct, I will truly suppress you and take away your source, just like how you took away Jing Fanqing's source. Why don't you die with me? Do you think you can hold on? When Jing Fanqing saw this, his eyes were filled with joy. Jing Qiu, this is retribution. As the saying goes, evil people will be tortured by evil people. You just took everything from me, and now someone is coming to take everything from you. Gu Qinsha, I'm willing to join the Calming Immortal Department. I'm willing to abandon everything that I previously believed in. I'm willing to wholeheartedly become a member of the Calming Immortal Department. I'll believe in the principles of the Calming Immortal Department and devoutly cultivate the way of the dragon every day. This is my long-cherished wish, and I'm willing to do everything. Really, when Gu Qinsha heard this, a smile appeared on his face. As you wish, believe in my Tao of the Dragon. This is the absolute truth. In that case, I will return the origin of the innocuous heavenly king to you. If you had realized it earlier, you wouldn't have ended up in this situation today. Rumble. Just as Jing Fanqing finished speaking, he seemed to have sensed something. The source of the innocuous heavenly king on Jing Qiu's body became restless, causing Jing Qiu to lose control of the situation. Damn it, if I had known earlier, I would have killed you. Jing Fanqing, I can't believe you're still causing mischief at a time like this. You're being used by someone else. Jing Qiu flew into a rage. He waved his hand, sending out a wave of energy to kill Jing Fanqing. He regretted not killing Jing Fanqing on the spot. Now that Jing Fanqing's destiny was being used, the source of the innocuous heavenly king in his body was stirred up, and he couldn't control it at all. Gu Qinsha didn't even look. In the blink of an eye, Jing Fanqing was protected. No one could touch a hair on him. Jing Fanqing was the true body of the innocuous heavenly king. If he died, his destiny would naturally dissipate. But if he didn't die, he could be activated by a secret art, which would allow the source of Jing Qiu's body to flow back. Of course, This was also because Jing Qiu hadn't had the source of the innocuous heavenly king for long. If he had a few more months, his foundation would have stabilized, and he would have digested the destiny. Then Jing Fanqing would have been useless. Gu Qinsha seized this opportunity and suddenly attacked, catching Jing Qiu off guard. Jing Qiu couldn't kill Jing Fanqing, so he couldn't suppress the other's destiny backlash. If Jing Fanqing didn't have Gu Qinsha's help, the destiny backlash would be nothing. But now that Gu Qinsha had an unfathomable ability, the destiny backlash could almost exhaust Jing Qiu. After all, Jing Fanqing was the reincarnation of the innocuous heavenly king. Jing Qiu forcefully snatched it, to a certain extent, was actually going against heaven's will, and he would definitely die. Damn it, my destiny has been triggered, and my source is stirring. Although it's in my body, I can't control it at all. Jing Qiu was burning with anxiety. This way, I won't even be able to take him down with me. Jing Qiu, let's see who can save you now. Jing Fanqing laughed loudly. Karma doesn't feel good. Karma doesn't feel good. It's not that the time hasn't come, but when the time comes, everything will be repaid. I'll save you. Just as Jing Qiu was in imminent danger, a voice suddenly rang out. Then, a majestic power poured into Jing Qiu's body, causing Jing Qiu's body to suddenly stabilize, and the restless, innocuous heavenly king's source also began to calm down. A figure appeared. This person was a young man, and his entire body seemed to be filled with an extremely dense aura of disaster. This aura of disaster was pure, as if it was brought by the Emperor of Heaven to punish the human world. He was a member of the heavenly court. After this young man appeared, he looked at Gu Qinsha and said, Gu Qinsha, we meet again. Back then, you didn't kill me. Now that I've achieved great results, you won't have any more chances to deal with me. Guhua, it's actually you. Gu Qinsha looked at the young man in front of him and already recognized him. This person was Guhua, who had been his opponent for a long time. He had tried to assassinate him on the sea for the first time, and he had lost his golden core. However, later on, the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor had recovered and obtained the Star of Bane. Then, this Guhua, Jing Fanqing, Elder Wangji, and Elder Xiaoyan of the Crimson Firmament sect besieged Gu Qinsha in the demon area. In the end, Elder Wangji and Elder Xiaoyan were both killed. Jing Fanqing escaped, and Guhua was about to be refined, but he was rescued by the Black-Yellow Dragon Emperor. After that, Guhua never appeared again. This time, Gu Qinsha was shocked to find that Guhua's identity was definitely not ordinary. Guhua, I didn't expect you to be the reincarnation of the heavenly king of disaster. Gu Qinsha looked at Guhua. Moreover, you obtained the desolate sea's heart. Actually, I should have been able to divine a thing or two, but I had no time to care about these things and actually let you take advantage of a loophole. That's right. You let the Grand Preceptor Wen Hong attempt to conquer the Great Wei dynasty, but you didn't expect me to take advantage of the situation and obtain the desolate sea's heart and awaken the reincarnation of the heavenly king of disaster. Guhua looked at Gu Qinsha. However, the calming immortal department has too many things to do, and there will always be a loophole. If you could control everything, wouldn't the entire world be under your control? No wonder you've come to save Jing Qiu. Gu Qinsha looked calmly at Guhua. Now that Jing Qiu has obtained the reincarnation of the innocuous heavenly king and the desolate sea's heart, you are the reincarnation of the heavenly king of disaster and have obtained the desolate sea's heart. If the two of you join forces, you can attack the divine central continent, and you can also protect yourself. Looks like I can't do anything to the two of you today. That's right. If it was just one of us, you would be able to suppress us at will. However, with the two of us joining forces, with our foundations and strength, it is not impossible for you to suppress us, but it definitely won't be as easy as it is now. Moreover, I control the desolate sea, and the Imperial Court has many island countries overseas. If I activate the power of the desolate sea, I can instantly destroy all those island countries. It will be difficult for you to stop me. Gu spoke frankly with assurance. Moreover, it's not just the two of us joining forces to deal with you. Lord Xianxian, come out as well. Buzz a sound rang out. A heart-shaped halo appeared. A youth appeared in this heart-shaped halo. It was Xian Xin. Xian Xin, the young sect master of the Black Heaven Earth sect who had been killed by the heavenly talisman Great Emperor Gu Taxian, had been resurrected by the master of the sun moon Gu Tiansha. Then, he had broken free from Gu Tiansha's control and achieved great freedom. Xian Xin was the reincarnation of the boundless heart. However, he had already obtained the Eastern Wasteland heart. Here comes another one. Gu Tiansha looked at Xian Xin without any change in expression. However, Xian Xin looked at Gu Tiansha with an expression of extreme hatred. "You're Gu Taxian's son, the little bastard Gu Tiansha." Xian Xion's killing intent was thick, and his tone was cold. "How dare you go around causing trouble?" Sigh. Gu Tiansha sighed. "Xian Xion, you have already died once, but you still don't realize it. You don't even know the reason for your death. It seems that you will have to repeat the same mistake. If my father can kill you, I can also kill you. Jing Xiu, Guhua, let's activate the Baron Triad Heart and the power of the universe to suppress this little bastard here and kill him. What do you think?" Xian Xion's voice became even more resentful. "It's not that easy." Guhua shook his head. "Even if we gather the power of the 4 barren lands, we won't be able to defeat him. We can only protect ourselves. Besides, Lord Xian Xion, you're not the reincarnation of a king." Guhua was speaking the truth. If they wanted to defeat Gu Tiansha, they could only protect themselves. Before they knew it, Gu Tiansha had become the most difficult person to deal with in the world. Even a master of the sun moon, Gu Tiansha, had to retreat. "Aside from the Emperor of Heaven, who can fight against me, none of you can." Gu Tiansha looked at the 3 of them working together. He didn't care. It was as if he was looking at a bunch of useless people. "Fine, I'll let you live for a few more days." Whoosh! Gu Tiansha didn't attack. He just left the desert. Lord Xian Xin. When Gu saw that Xian Xin still wanted to chase after him, he quickly stopped him. "Don't fall into his trap. He didn't attack us because he hasn't finished gathering his trump card yet. Think about it. He destroyed the gathering of the demons with 1 lightning bolt. If he uses that lightning again, we won't be able to defeat him. That lightning is much stronger than the legendary primordial dragon lightning." That's right. Gu Tiansha isn't easy to deal with. If we're even slightly careless, we will be killed by him. Jing Xiu was a little scared. A. Chapter 822. Xian Xin, Gu Hua, and Jing Xiu were gathered together. Seeing that Gu Tiansha had left, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Even though Xian Xin had sounded stern, he was actually afraid that Gu Tiansha would suddenly make a move. He had already calculated the strength of Gu Tiansha and Jingxian Si, and he knew that he was no match for them. "The 2 of you, we formed a huge alliance in the Eastern Wasteland. We have Dharma Saint, Wan Senshi, Immortal Master, the 3 Heavenly Sovereigns, and Wu Dankong. We can fight against Jingxian Si and Gu Tiansha. The most important thing now is to work together to prevent this person from activating his power and taking us down one by one. If the 2 of you join our alliance, I'm afraid you'll be able to achieve great things." Xian Xin immediately tried to rope them in. "Brother Xian Xin, I've long known that the heaven and earth ancestor of the Black Heaven Earth sect has resurrected and formed a huge alliance. But the reason why I'm not joining is very simple. There are too many people in your alliance with ulterior motives, such as the 3 Heavenly Sovereigns, Wan Senshi, Immortal Master, and Dharma Saint. They're all people who can stab you in the back at any time, especially that Immortal Master, who's even Gu Taxian's woman. Who knows what she's thinking? Maybe she's a spy." Jing Xiu said, "Furthermore, you've divided the boundless heart into 9 parts, and there's no place for us anymore. Even if we join, we won't get any benefits. So what's the point of doing this? The 2 of you can see it clearly." Xian Xin sighed and said, "I also know that working with those people is like asking a tiger for its skin. But there's no other way. If we don't form an alliance, I'm afraid we'll all be captured and killed by Jingxian Si and Gu Tiansha. Furthermore, the 2 of you will be forming an alliance with me, not with the 3 Celestials Wan Senshi, the immortal master, and the Dharma saint. Furthermore, if we form a small alliance, it will be hard to say who will emerge victorious in the future. I know that the Dharma saint, Wan Senshi, the immortal master, and especially the three great celestial masters are also very ambitious. It's impossible for me not to be on guard against them. If the two of you are interested, we can even refine all of them in the future. Wouldn't that be wonderful? This is feasible. Guhua thought for a while and said, right now, we can only form an alliance and advance and retreat together. Only then will we be able to contend against Gu Qinsha. Otherwise, we will indeed be defeated by him one by one, and in the end, all of us will be killed. His ferocious might is too great. Let's first form an alliance and wait for the Emperor of Heaven to come out. When we fight with him, we'll be able to suppress him. At that time, we'll be able to carry out our plan calmly. Guhua also had no other choice. If he didn't come to rescue Jingqiu this time, after Gu Qinsha killed Jingqiu, the next one to die would definitely be him. In fact, his threat was even greater than Jingqiu's because the imperial court didn't have any influence in the desolate desert. There were many island countries in the desolate sea, such as the Dragon Sword Island, the Ocean Rock Island, and the Treasure Jade Country. However, Guhua wouldn't believe Xian Xian. He knew that Xian Xian was extremely cunning and didn't have much of a relationship with him. If Jingqiu could devour Jing Fanqing's Heavenly King source, Xian Xian would definitely want to devour his Heavenly King of Disaster source as well. They were both jackals of the same tribe. In the depths of his heart, Guhua was actually very envious of the Tranquil Immortal Department. The people of the Tranquil Immortal Department never schemed against each other. They were all of one heart and one mind. They worked together, treated each other with sincerity, and shared weal and woe. Apart from that, all the alliances plotted against each other. On the surface, they appeared to be amiable, but secretly, they couldn't wait to devour, kill, and refine their opponents. Unfortunately, it was impossible for Guhua to change the minds of Xian Xian and the others. Guhua could only feign civility. Of course, in Guhua's subconscious, he also wanted to devour Xian Xian and Jingqiu to obtain a great divine ability. As the Heavenly King of Disaster, he naturally knew how noble the Heavenly King source was, and how great his divine ability and power would be in the future. If he could devour another Heavenly King source, his power wouldn't be as simple as doubling. Furthermore, this was the best opportunity. If the Emperor of Heaven were to appear, things would be difficult. This was the most chaotic era, but it was also the best era. It was the era with the most opportunities. If he missed this era, it would be too late for regrets. All right then, Xian Xian, Jingqiu, Wan Senshi, the three heavenly lords, the patriarch of heaven and earth, the immortal master, the Dharma saint, and that Wu Dankong, I'll fight it out with you guys. Let's see if your wisdom is greater or if my methods are more tyrannical. I'm going to devour and refine all of you and seize this final opportunity. In the depths of Guhua's heart, a great emotion was brewing. Let's form an alliance. We'll advance and retreat together, attack and defend each other. The three of them looked at each other and reached out their hands. Then they burst out laughing. Brother Jingqiu, Brother Guhua, I can see that your cultivation bases are unfathomable. With the heart of desolate desert and desolate sea, you'll achieve great things in the future. However, we still need to find a magical item to control heaven's will. After forming an alliance, Xian Xian revealed his plan. What magical item? Guhua asked. The heavenly sacrificial talisman. Xian Xian said, that's right. That's the first thing we need to get. Jingqiu's eyes flickered as he agreed. Wu Dankong has great ambitions, but little talent. She's useless. I don't know how the heavenly sacrificial talisman ended up in her hands. Ever since she got it, she hasn't been able to use its power. If we can get our hands on it, we can use the Heavenly King source to activate it. It'll definitely be more powerful than when it's in the hands of the Emperor. This talisman is the key to the birth of the Emperor of Heaven in the future. Guhua said, we have to get it. Once we get it, We can use all kinds of methods to strengthen our connection with the heavenly Tao and improve our cultivation bases. In the future, the Heavenly King's cultivation bases should all be at the peak of the heaven's primal stage. Right now, we're too weak. We can't even use 1% of their power. Jingxiu was at the Heavenly King stage, just one step away from the Heavenly Life stage. Guo wasn't even at the Heavenly King stage. He was still at the peak of the 36 saint transformations. However, Guo could use the Heavenly King's source and the power of the Desolate Sea's heart. Even Heavenly Life stage antiques wouldn't be able to harm him. In fact, they might even be defeated. I have to get Wu Dankong. As for the Heavenly Sacrificial Talisman, we'll split it evenly between the three of us. The Dharma Saint is also waiting for an opportunity to get the Heavenly Sacrificial Talisman. I'll make sure his plans go down the drain. Xian Xian had obtained the help of Gu Hua and Jingxiu, so he wanted to get rid of his opponents. His first target was naturally the Dharma Saint and Wu Dankong, who were the weakest in the alliance. Although the Dharma Saint dominated the world, compared to old antiques like Wan Senshi and the Immortal Master, he was still lacking some foundation. As for Wu Dankong, without the Heavenly Sacrificial Talisman, she was nothing more than an ant. Brother Xian Xian, what's your plan? Let's do it together. There's no time to lose, Jingxiu said. Wu Dankong worked with me before, but she failed miserably. She definitely doesn't have any profound schemes. On the other hand, the Dharma Saint is no small matter. We can't underestimate him. My plan is to work with someone else. Xian Xian looked at the Wildlands. The Wildlands heart is in the hands of someone else, but I don't know if that person is a heavenly king or not. We need to work with that person to have absolute confidence in using the four Wildlands heart to counteract the power of the Heavenly Sacrificial Talisman. Then we can capture Wu Dankong and take away the Heavenly Sacrificial Talisman. Years ago, the Dharma Saint took Gu Xuansha's son, Gu Changjian, as his disciple, and sent him into the barbarian tribe to try to get the Wildlands heart. However, that Gu Changjian is the reincarnation of the Infinity Blade, and together with Gu Tanjian, he has some cultivation base. Now, the two of them have unified the barbarian tribe and obtained destiny. Could it be that they already have the Wildlands heart? Let's work together. Gu calculated. Somehow, he seemed to be able to sense something. The three of us can work together to find the person who has the Wildlands heart. With the four Wildlands heart and the four Wildlands essence, we can even lift the Divine Prefecture and make it ascend to the heavens. In the distant future, the Divine Prefecture will be the heavenly court, high and mighty, while the four Wildlands will protect and support the Divine Prefecture. Jingxiu said, if the four Wildlands work together, their power will not be as simple as the three of us working together. Any one of the four Wildlands is more important than the Heavenly Sacrificial Talisman. The Heavenly Sacrificial Talisman is an edict from the Emperor Heaven, which allows the Son of Heaven to manage the common people and appoint gods. If that's the case, then let's go. The three of them formed a spell formation, and with a flicker, they disappeared. Meanwhile, in the tranquil immortal department, Gu Chunsha returned. As soon as he returned, he called for a meeting of all the higher-ups. They gathered under the little Hongmeng tree to discuss the four Wildlands. Zhuge frowned. I never imagined that the four Wildlands would fall into someone else's hands. That was an oversight on our part. However, this matter had already surpassed his level of intelligence. There's nothing we can do about it. The four Wildlands and the Heavenly Kings are the most important parts of the operation of the Heavenly Daos. If we could control them all, the Heavenly Daos would no longer be mysterious to us. Gu Chensha waved his hand dismissively. This matter was truly not something he could control. The four Wildlands have fallen into someone else's hands, Lu Baiwe said. The most important thing right now is the Divine Central Continent. If we can control the Divine Prefecture's heart, then we'll be in control of the highest level of the myriad worlds. Chunsha, your Divine Prefecture's great Tao, is almost at the 100th level. How is your control over the Divine Central Continent going? It's not that easy. Right now, I can use the power of the divine central continent to suppress others. That's because I control the will and destiny of the living beings of the divine central continent. However, the true divine prefecture's heart has yet to be opened to me, and I can't grasp it. Guqinsha had a deep understanding of this problem. Since ancient times, no one has been able to truly grasp the divine central continent's heart. Only the future Emperor Heaven can truly obtain the divine central continent's recognition. That's why the appearance of the Emperor Heaven is our greatest crisis. Chapter 823. Qinsha, you've been searching for the Emperor of Heaven's whereabouts. Have you found any clues? The martial Saint Skylord frowned. He knew the severity of the situation. The four desolates had fallen into the hands of others. If the divine prefecture was lost as well, then the imperial court would lose its foundation. Humans had to live on the earth. If they lost control of the earth, it would be difficult for them to move a single step. Not yet. Guqinsha also felt that the situation was a little urgent. My cultivation is still not enough. If I become a heavenly lord, then the search for the Emperor of Heaven will be a success. However, there is no need for everyone to think that this is a matter of life and death for the Yonko and the Tranquil Immortal Department. I have always believed that man can triumph over the heavens. In fact, through my careful calculations, as long as the 40 billion subjects under our command all become innate saints, then the people will be able to suppress the divine prefecture. Even if the Emperor of Heaven appears, he will not be able to do anything. Finally, the fate of the Emperor of Heaven will be taken away and returned to the people. The heavens are the people's heavens. It is almost impossible for all of them to become innate saints now. Even if all of them become geniuses, it is not something that can be done in a short period of time. Zhuge said, I am currently doing my best to promote the human dragon fist and raise the aptitude of the people. In a few months, I will make fools and low-grade aptitude completely a thing of the past. When the 36th year of the heavenly talisman arrives, I must let everyone in the world have at least mid-grade aptitude as a general or even a high-grade commander. This is still not enough. Guqinsha shook his head. Actually, the current situation is very dangerous to anyone, but to me, it is just a predestined fate. I have another way to improve the aptitude of the people in the world, and that is to directly capture the desolate Dragon Gate, shatter and refine this Dragon Gate, and integrate it into the Imperial Court's national fate. Then, everyone's aptitude will increase. Of course, this is also a method to spoil things through excessive enthusiasm. Unless it is absolutely necessary, I will not use it. The best way is to integrate the desolate Dragon Gate into our Divine Gourd, and calculate it to the extreme, and calculate the Holy Dragon Heart Sutra to the next level of aptitude. I've already come up with a plan, which is to create another mental cultivation method based on the Holy Dragon Mantra. It's called the Dragonless Mental Cultivation Method. Once this mental cultivation method is cultivated, everyone will become outliers. This is the realm that Xing Qiongshi is pursuing, but his cultivation base is not enough to withstand such a great Tao. That's why he's an illusion. If this method is successful, the situation in the world will change again. When Zhuge heard this, he was delighted once more. It was like he comprehended some theory and broke through the restrictions that the heavens had placed on him. Zhuge was the Lord of 7 stars, and he himself had the talent and power that the heavens had given him. He forcefully reversed the heavens and obtained the identity of the Lord of 7 stars. His cultivation increased once more, but unfortunately, the restrictions on him increased. It was really difficult for him to break through to the outlier realm. Now, his cultivation was at the Tao realm 36 transformations. He was at the peak of embodiment transformation, but he was unable to break through to Empyrean realm. For this, he was thinking of all sorts of methods. Kamingxian department had 3 Empyreans. The first was naturally Empyrean Martial Saint, the second was General People's General, and the third was Chong Weiyang. Next, the one with the highest chance of becoming an Empyrean was Wenhong. Wenhong gave up on the Endless Cauldron and immediately comprehended the outlier realm. With the resources and various comprehensions of calming Xian department, he would become an Empyrean realm sooner or later. One could even say that it wouldn't be surprising if when Hong became an Empyrean realm in the next second. Not bad. I already have an overall plan in mind, Gu Chansha said confidently. In fact, in the depths of the Dragon Gate of the prehistoric universe, when I absorbed the sins of the Dragon Gate and turned them into merit, I deeply understood the nature of the Dragon Gate. I have some confidence in capturing the Dragon Gate. The Dragon Gate itself is actually a treasure that will be of great use in the future. It is equivalent to being controlled by Celestial Emperor, the gateway of the celestial heavens to the mortal world. In the future, the heavenly court and the mortal world are separated. The heavenly court is high above, and if people want to enter the heavenly court to become gods, they have to go through the Dragon Gate. It is like the imperial examinations in the mortal world. Normal people have to go through the imperial examinations to become officials. Only by crossing the threshold of the imperial examinations can they become gentry. Their statuses are completely different. This gate is the future heavenly court's promotion gate for the myriad worlds. If people don't have a path to promotion, they will have resentment. If the path to promotion is too smooth, the heavenly court will be overcrowded, which is not good. That is why the immortal slaying God punishing gourd exists. The Emperor of Heaven used this treasure to slay immortals and gods at regular intervals, so that the heavenly court's position will always be at an appropriate level. While he was talking, Gu Chansha had already calculated the structure of the future heaven, which was suitable for him to find the people and treasures that were supposed to be fated. The future Emperor of Heaven was born, and the heavenly court appeared. There was a true ruler between heaven and earth, and the heavenly Tao had a concrete form. The era of chaos had finally ended, and the universe welcomed a brand new order that would last forever. The formation of the future heavenly court was divided into many steps. The Emperor of Heaven himself, the heavenly court itself, was the divine central continent, the endless 36 treasures, the primeval Dragon Gate, the heaven offering talisman, and even the Hongmeng tree. The 9 heavenly kings, the 4 wilds, and so on, were all part of the order of the future heavenly court. These things appeared in the world one after another, and only then could a complete heavenly court be formed. The Emperor of Heaven was born, and he controlled the endless 36 treasures, opened the gate to the heavenly realm, and sat on the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. Everything was set in stone. Gu Chansha knew that this was almost inevitable, but it was precisely because of this that things were more challenging. Chansha, then the most important thing now is to subdue the primeval Dragon Gate, Liu Baiwei said, but the primeval Dragon Gate seems to have disappeared. Since you woke it up, it has escaped from some fixed position. Gu Chansha calculated, and indeed, he could not find the primeval Dragon Gate. It seemed to have disappeared without a trace. As he frowned, he took astral steps and suddenly attacked. The divine land bottle gourd shot out a cloud, and many scenes appeared in the cloud. One could vaguely see the trajectory of the primeval Dragon Gate. The primeval Dragon Gate kept jumping in the depths of the space-time turbulence, changing position thousands of times in every instant. Even experts of the heavenly longevity realm could not find the location of the primeval Dragon Gate. According to Gu Chench's calculations, the primeval Dragon Gate was fiercely shrinking as it jumped. The 5 elements' great thousand world around the primeval Dragon Gate were also collapsing and shrinking. In the end, they all entered the depths of the primeval Dragon Gate. The primeval Dragon Gate began to shrink to a certain extreme, becoming a palm-sized door. It turned into a stream of light and fell into the divine continent, then disappeared like a shooting star. Oh! All the upper echelons of the tranquil immortal department saw this scene. Heavenly Paragon Martial Saints said, I didn't expect the primeval Dragon Gate to descend into the world. I wonder which fated person it fell into? If I guessed correctly, after the primeval Dragon Gate shrank, it should have fallen into the hands of the Gate Gene Heavenly King. In the future, the heavenly court will be guarded by this Gate Gene Heavenly King. This heavenly king guards the passage to the mortal and immortal, and his combat strength is extraordinary. It seems that after the grand inferno heavenly king, the calamity heavenly king, and the innocuous heavenly king appeared, the other heavenly kings also appeared. Gu Chansha waved his hand again, and the cloud of smoke from the divine land bottle gourd became even denser. The smoke flowed with time, and in the blink of an eye, it was the future. The scenery of the future appeared in Gu Chencha's calculations. In the future, the myriad worlds settled, and the heavenly court stood above them. In the center of the heavenly court was a great emperor. This great emperor was like a vast sun, and his power spread across the boundless space-time and endless plains. This was the emperor of heaven. Below the emperor of heaven was the lord of the sun and moon. He was in charge of the movements of the celestial bodies, and he was like a prime minister. However, this lord of the sun and moon did not resemble Gu Tiansha at all. From this, it could be seen that there was a certain degree of strong deviation between the present and the future. The lord of the sun and moon originally belonged to someone else, but he was forcefully seized by Gu Tiansha. After that, there were the 9 heavenly kings, the heavenly courts of mortals and gods, and countless officials. These officials gathered together, forming the most basic ruling authority of the heavenly court. However, the emperor of heaven was shrouded in a ball of light, and it was impossible to see what he looked like. In other words, Gu Chansha relied on all sorts of calculations to calculate the future, but he could not find any traces of the current emperor of heaven's reincarnation. However, the emperor of heaven's reincarnation could not be calculated, but the figure of the gate Jin heavenly king could be seen clearly. Investigate immediately. With a wave of his hand, Gu Chansha dispersed the diagram of the future heavenly court. Since the figure of the gate Jin heavenly king had appeared, he could easily find this person's existence in the present world. From there, he could capture the primeval dragon gate, crush it, and refine it. This would allow Gu Chencha's cultivation to rise once again from the holy dragon heart technique to the dragonless heart technique. From then on, the dragon-raising heart technique would become a genius. The dragon-making heart technique would become a peerless genius. The holy dragon heart technique would become a natural saint. The dragonless heart technique would become a divergent. With all these interlocking factors, the court's momentum would be formed. Even if the emperor of heaven were to be born, if everyone was a divergent, then what about the emperor of heaven? Divergents themselves could reverse the heavens, and there were no restrictions. In the blink of an eye, the Calming Immortal Bureau began a large-scale investigation throughout the country. There were more than 40 billion people in the country. The situation was chaotic, and the flow of talents was extremely high. Large numbers of people died at every moment, and large numbers of people were also born. Wanting to investigate a specific person's specific situation was like looking for a needle in a haystack. However, this was not difficult at all for the Calming Immortal Bureau. After 3 breaths, they had searched through all the information of the country's population. Chansha, there's no such person. Zhuge came to report. What? Gu Chansha was shocked. I have calculated the appearance, figure, and aura of the gate Jin Heavenly King. The primeval dragon gate has indeed fallen into his hands. Perhaps this person has not awakened yet, but there are definitely traces of his aura. How could there be none? Visit website. Chapter 824. With the Calm Fairy Department's methods, as long as it was within the Yonko S range, they could even find a flea, let alone a person. However, they couldn't find a clue as big as the Heavenly King of G-Men. This gave off a mysterious air. The heavenly secrets are hidden. Gu Chansha pondered for an hour before he slowly said, the Heavenly King of Jin and the Primordial Dragon sect must be among the people of our imperial court. However, they are obscured by some secret technique, making it difficult for us to search for them. We can only narrow down the search area and slowly search for them. Time is of the essence for us now. The Emperor of Heaven is about to come out. If he comes out and controls the heart of divine prefecture, we will be at a disadvantage. When Hong said, I controlled half of the territory and subjects of the Great Wei dynasty over there, but I encountered resistance. The situation in the future would be very difficult to develop, because Gu Hua had actually become the heavenly king of disaster and had even grasped the heart of the sea wasteland. This way, not only could he control the situation, he could also counterattack. They can deal with our island nations at any time. The Great Fun dynasty and the Burning Continent also have to guard against the counterattack of the Great Fun Heavenly King and the Master of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha. After all, the Burning Continent has hundreds of billions of people, and they have powerful sacrificial power at all times. These two people can't give up, Liu Baiwa said. We can provide support at any time. Zhuge Ye said, our little Hongmeng tree has enough power to open a portal to the Inferno continent. Furthermore, the 3 ministers and 8 marquises, as well as Fong Lin, have used their secret arts to separate their fate energy from the boundless treasure, freeing themselves from the heavenly Tao's shackles and missions. From now on, everything will be as smooth as a galloping horse. All right, I can help him this once. Gu Qinsha saw that in the depths of the little Hongmeng tree, the 3 dukes and 8 marquises, as well as Fong Lin, were all using their own powers. They were using the methods of the Celestial Pacification Department to sever some sort of thread of fate. However, their strength was far from one Hong's level, so it was not easy for them to break free from the infinite treasure. Some people resign and return to their hometowns, while others rush to the examination hall through the night. Some people risk their lives to obtain the boundless treasure, while others want to give up on it. Gu Qinsha flicked his finger, and 12 beams of light flew out. These beams of light landed on the heads of the 3 dukes, 8 marquises, and Fong Lin. Crack! It was as though some kind of deep connection had been severed. Heaven Duke was furious, and layers of calamities enveloped the little Hongmeng tree. Tribulation? Gu Qinsha laughed coldly. What could tribulation do to me now? Even the Emperor of Heaven has to hide himself lest I discover him. Otherwise, he won't be able to escape my grasp. With a wave of his hand, many tribulations on the little Hongmeng tree were absorbed into the divine prefecture gourd. Rumble. At that moment, 12 endless treasures flew out from the bodies of the 3 ministers, 8 marquises, and Fong Lin. They formed an extremely dazzling long arc. As the long arc danced in the air, it seemed like it wanted to leave the little primordial tree and fly in all directions in search of a new owner. This was destiny. The 3 ministers and 8 marquises had given up on their destiny, so the endless treasures had abandoned them as well. They had to find a new successor to inherit the orthodoxy of the celestial heavens. It was a pity that Gu Qinsha was here. Gu Qinsha slapped the divine prefecture gourd again. Light swept out from the gourd and enveloped the 12 endless treasures, pulling them violently. Even though they struggled violently, it was a pity that it was useless. They were slowly pulled into the divine prefecture gourd and settled down. Rumble. Another earth-shattering change occurred inside the divine prefecture gourd. At that moment, Do Yu discovered in astonishment that the endless treasures had fallen into the true divine prefecture inside the divine prefecture gourd and begun to melt. It made the true divine prefecture even richer, and it truly had the aura of the divine prefecture outside. The divine prefecture of the central divine prefecture will be the celestial heavens in the future, but you actually created a true divine prefecture inside the divine prefecture gourd. You mean to compete with the Emperor of Heaven? Do Yu said. That's right. The divine prefecture of the central divine prefecture isn't the true divine prefecture. It's the ideal divine prefecture, the perfect divine prefecture. The true divine prefecture is born from the hearts of all living beings. It doesn't belong to the celestial heavens, but to all living beings. The future is wrong. There's no need for things like the celestial heavens or celestial drops to exist. Do Yu, I won't kill you. I'll let you witness the birth of the divine prefecture in the hearts of all living beings. In the future, all living beings will be able to come to the divine prefecture to study and observe. The divine prefecture is a flawless ideal the highest Tao, the quintessence of knowledge for all living beings to learn. This is the divine prefecture I need, not the lofty, celestial heavens that governs and oppresses all living beings. Gu Chencha's voice and will enter Do Yu's mind, causing her to tremble. Instinctively, Do Yu knew that what Gu Chansha had said was true. Such grand ambitions and grandiose aspirations almost convinced her. But she also knew how difficult it would be. She was someone who had been acknowledged by the immortal-slaying, God-executing flying dagger, and knew many of the secrets of the future. Furthermore, she might have an important position in the celestial heavens. No, Gu Chansha, what you've said is false. The divine prefecture is the divine prefecture. The celestial heavens is the celestial heavens, and order is order. According to your vision, the future will definitely be filled with misery and suffering, and there will never be a day of peace. The world is already chaotic enough. When the Emperor of Heaven comes into the world and sets things right, it's the will of the people. The Emperor of Heaven is the savior of the world. Do Yu violently dispelled all the will that Gu Chansha had instilled in her and strengthened her thoughts. At this moment, a wave of enlightenment rose from the depths of her heart. The immortal-slaying, God-executing flying dagger is the weapon that will control the law in the future celestial heavens. The one who wields this flying dagger is a heavenly king called the Punisher Heavenly King. Since the dagger has acknowledged me, then I'm the reincarnation of the Punisher Heavenly King. But why don't I have the source of a heavenly king in my body? At this moment, Do Yu's enlightenment was interrupted. That's right. In the future celestial heavens, the immortal-slaying, God-executing flying dagger is in the possession of the Punisher Heavenly King. According to the decree of the Emperor of Heaven, a few immortals will be killed and eliminated at regular intervals. Gu Chencha's voice rang out again. However, you're not the reincarnation of the Punisher Heavenly King. I can tell you the cause and effect of this. In the future, your son will be the Punisher Heavenly King. Son? Do Yu howled. In this world, which man is worthy of me? Since there are no men, I can't have a son. Gu Chensha, don't try to scare me. I won't listen to any of your bewitchment. Since you don't believe me, how about we make a bet? Gu Chensha said, I'll let you go now, and you'll have a son very soon. If what I say is true, then you have to wholeheartedly pledge your allegiance to me. How about it? As you wish. Do Yu didn't even think about it before agreeing. All right. Gu Chensha let go of the divine prefecture gourd and let Do Yu fly away. Once Do Yu left, Chong Weiyang asked, This woman has a great destiny. Why didn't you let her go? She's a celestial sovereign, and her methods are extremely tyrannical. If she goes against us, she'll be a huge obstacle. In the future, many things won't go smoothly. Celestial sovereigns were absolute ancestors who could suppress the destiny of any power. Even the Calming Immortal Department was no exception. Right now, the Calming Immortal Department only had 3 celestial sovereigns. Disregarding everything else, the power of a celestial sovereign's sacrifice far surpassed that of the sages. As long as a celestial sovereign made a sacrifice, the power of the sacrifice would be like a heavenly pillar, piercing through the heavens and the earth. The color was pure, and the quality of the power of the sacrifice was so high that even Gu Chansha could only sigh in amazement. However, since ancient times, celestial sovereigns had always been lofty figures who dominated countless worlds. They wouldn't make sacrifices to any existences. It was precisely because they didn't even fear the heavenly Tao that they became divergents and celestial sovereigns. Therefore, there were basically no celestial sovereign sacrifices in history. If the Calming Immortal Department could have one more celestial sovereign sacrifice, then the power of the sacrifice would be of great benefit to Gu Chensha. Not to mention celestial sovereigns. Even Gu Chensha wouldn't mind having too many sages. It doesn't matter. Even if I capture Do Yu now, she won't sincerely surrender. Moreover, I can indeed draw out the punishing Heavenly King from her body. If the punishing Heavenly King comes out and is captured by me, then he'll worship our Tao, then the power of the sacrifice he produces will be far beyond what we can compare with. Gu Qinsha was casting a long line to catch a big fish. Indeed, heavenly kings are lofty figures in the heavenly court in the future. They control countless immortals and the space-time of the world. Their intrinsic strength is tyrannical, far surpassing that of celestial sovereigns. If they can submit to us and worship our Tao, then our power will increase by thousands of times. Zhuge Ye deeply understood this principle. That's right. Those old-timers don't know how to use them. Even Jing Xiu wants to use the blessing of Heavenly King Devourer to strengthen himself. The truth is that if he could convince Jing Fanqing to worship him and offer sacrifices to him, then the benefits would be far greater than just devouring Jing Fanqing. Lu Baiwei said, "In the future, our path will be to subjugate them and have them worship our Tao. If we could have a heavenly king offer sacrifices to our Tao, then that would be incredible. How pure would the sacrificial power be? I can extract true, deathless substance from the sacrificial power of heavenly kings. If we could have a heavenly king offer sacrifices to our Tao, then I'm confident that I could become a celestial within a few decades. If all 9 heavenly kings offered sacrifices to us, then I could become a celestial within a few months. Of course, heavenly kings are very difficult to subjugate. Even a celestial like Do, you might be able to kill her easily, but subjugate her would be very difficult. That's why I let her go. Killing a celestial would be a real pity." Gu Qinsha gazed into the distance. "Actually, what I hope the most is for the celestial arch to worship me and believe in my Tao. If I meet the celestial arch, I only need this to allow us to achieve true immortality." This site recommended pictures and videos of beautiful legs and stockings, youthful cheeks, and voluptuous buttocks. Quickly follow the official WeChat account, Mamdo1. Long press for 3 seconds to copy and watch. Chapter 825. Sacrifice was the most important thing. Gu Qinsha killing a celestial lord and refining him into the divine land god was far less valuable than subduing and persuading a celestial lord to worship his Tao. A celestial lord, even a sage, was like a hen that laid golden eggs. Refining and killing them was like killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. The gains did not make up for the losses. Unless it was absolutely necessary, Gu Qinsha would not kill celestial lord refining, even if he was an enemy. In reality, although he had refined Xing Qiongshi into the divine land god, he had not been killed. He had merely been sealed. When the time came, Gu Qinsha would release him. By releasing Do Yu, Gu Qinsha would be able to grasp some clues about the Punisher Heavenly King, and he would also be able to make Do Yu submit completely. This matter was worth it. Qinsha, we have already done our best to improve the quality of the nation's citizens and officials. Although the gains are great, we are still far from everyone becoming geniuses, let alone everyone becoming sages. Gu Huasha also knew that the situation was urgent. It seems like we can't help much now. Don't say that, fourth brother. Governing the world requires everyone's hard work. I'm just in front. There are many things that need to be done by the calming deities department. Gu Qinsha knew that even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, he would not be able to make a forest by himself. He was fighting everywhere and controlling the overall situation, while many of the calming deities department's powerhouses were constantly operating and building. Without the people of the calming deities department, the power of sacrifice would be reduced by at least 30 to 40%. There are some things in the nation that must be taken care of. Right now, the Celestial Designer Institute is on the move again. Apart from that, a group of concubines in the palace has also begun their own wishful thinking. They are forming some heavenly mother formation left behind by the emperor. I don't know what the emperor's intentions are, but I'm afraid it will cause all sorts of unrest in the future. Lu Baiwei said, "If my guess is correct, that peacock has probably betrayed the emperor and used the concubines to activate the heavenly mother formation for another purpose." That's right. She wants to be the ruler of all demons, not just in name, but a true demon emperor. She wants to unify countless demons, and all the demons will submit to the demon emperor. The Heavenly Mother formation was meant to gather the energy of the demon race. Demons, immortals, devils, and gods all have their own positions. If you're truly recognized by the demon clan, then with this fate energy, you will be able to receive a huge blessing when the heavenly court is established in the future. In the past, it was the chaotic era. The master of all demons was just a title conferred by himself behind closed doors. The strongest of the demon clan ranked each other. Now things are different. Many of the demon clan's elders have appeared. That Li Wanlong and the nest of 10,000 dragons will naturally find it difficult to control the situation. Zhuge, you seem to understand the demon clan very well. We will handle the matter with the demon clan. Li Wanlong is ambitious, and his daughter Peacock is definitely not an ordinary person. Wen Hong said, I have some friendly relations with Li Wanlong. We can temporarily ally with him and see what he's up to. If he has other ambitions, we can directly subdue him. Although Wen Hong hadn't become an Empyrean, he naturally had an imposing aura when he spoke. Li Wanlong had already become an Empyrean, and Wen Hong wasn't his match in terms of cultivation level. However, Wen Hong could still look down on him. This was because Wen Hong himself was extremely strong. He could already fight against the Empyrean. Originally, he had the Endless Cauldron, and even Empyrean couldn't do anything to him. Although he had given up on the Endless Cauldron, because he cultivated the techniques of the Celestial Commerce Department, his myriad stars flying immortal art had been raised to a terrifying level. Now, when Hong's entire body moved, countless source energies of the stars gathered on his body, forming an immortal robe. This immortal robe seemed to be communicating with the source energies of the celestial world. Wonderful. Wan Senchi's greatest advantage is that he has obtained the recognition of the celestial world's source energies. He can use a portion of the celestial world abilities. In theory, now that Uncle Wen has also obtained the recognition of the celestial world source energies, you can also use the power of the celestial world source energies. In that case, let alone an Empyrean, even a heavenly longevity realm expert would find it difficult to do anything to you. However, I feel that this method can be taken one step further. It can directly separate the celestial world's source energies from Wan Senchi. Gu Qinsha couldn't help but laugh when he saw Wen Hong's cultivation level. This matter is very simple. My myriad stars, flying immortal art, strengthens the connection between the celestial world and the stars. As long as I gather more people who have reincarnated from the stars and worship them together, I can extract the power of worship from them. Then, I can truly activate the stars and fuse them with the celestial world, becoming one. With such merit, I can become the master of the celestial world. My status will only be below that of the Emperor Heaven. Wan Senchi has the same idea. Wen Hong had long since seen through some of the future trends. In the future, the Emperor Heaven would control the heavenly court and be high and mighty. However, below him was the human realm, which was controlled by the Son of Heaven. In addition, there was the demon realm, the immortal realm, and the God realm. They were all vassal states that belonged to the heavenly court and listened to the heavenly court's orders. However, they also had their own internal systems. This was a necessary balance for the order of heaven and earth. The immortal realm was a place where many powerhouses with magic power gathered. After entering the immortal realm, if one was outstanding, they could be promoted to the heavenly court as an immortal official. The immortal realm was the immortal realm, and the heavenly court was the heavenly court. Gu Qinsha had long since divined what the future of heaven and earth would be like. Naturally, Wen Hong was also making some arrangements. How many people have reincarnated from the stars in the world have our calming immortal department collected? Gu Qinsha asked. Everyone who had reincarnated from the stars was an unparalleled genius. If they cultivated the saintly Dragonheart Sutra a little, becoming an innate saint was just around the corner. Especially since these people's worship power contained the great fortune of heaven and earth. It was not something that ordinary, unparalleled geniuses could compare to. Gu Qinsha knew that these people who had reincarnated from the stars would be celestial sovereign officials when the heavenly court was established. Their status could not be compared to that of ordinary immortals. The moment he asked, General Chang people immediately began to calculate. In almost less than 3 breaths, the number was out. Currently, our calming immortal department has a total of 156 people who have reincarnated from the stars. They all have their own duties. Now, we have a total of 1,735 people who have reincarnated from the stars. These people have not joined the calming immortal department. These people are constantly monitoring. If there is any movement, we will immediately capture them. Not bad. Gu Qinsha nodded. Everyone has their own aspirations. We cannot force them. If those 1,735 people who have reincarnated from the stars don't want to join the calming immortal department, we cannot force them. In fact, there is no need to point out their identities. It is best if they voluntarily join. If we force them to join, it will instead create resentment. However, if they do anything that violates the law, we must capture them and strip them of their identities. The calming immortal department's attitude towards the people who had reincarnated from the stars was very clear. They would not come into contact with them. They would observe them in secret. If they voluntarily joined the calming immortal department, it would mean that they truly approved of the ideals of the calming immortal department. Then, they would be heavily nurtured. If they awakened and discovered that they were reincarnated from the stars and wanted to hide, not wanting anyone to know, that was fine too. As long as they did not violate the law, they would still be free. Right now, many people who had reincarnated from the stars were secretly cultivating among the people, not revealing their identities. However, they did not know that everything about them had been recorded by the calming immortal department and were constantly being observed. The number of reincarnated from the stars is actually just a drop in the bucket. In the future, the heavenly court will have a total of 129,600 celestial lords, as well as countless other minor stars. Wen Hong said, "If we can bring all of these reincarnated celestial lords under our command and worship them together, my myriad star flying immortal art will immediately reach great success. I will transcend time and space and approach immortality. My cultivation will immediately reach the heaven primordial realm. The number of 1 yuan and sky yuan is 129,600. Apart from that, the word sky yuan refers to the position of sky yuan in the center of the chessboard." That's true. Zhuge agreed deeply. He was the lord of the 7 stars, and his understanding of the profound mysteries of the stars was not inferior to Wen Hong's. What Wen Hong wanted to do was closely related to him, and also the key to his breakthrough. Based on my senses, when the 36th year of the heavenly talisman arrives, the reincarnated from the stars will first awaken on a large scale. The world will be filled with crooks and honest folk. The most terrifying are the stars of chaos. When these people descend, they will bring chaos to the world. For example, the 7 murders, the army destroyer, the ravenous wolf. Some stars of calamity, devil stars, chaotic stars, and plague stars must be suppressed. That's natural. Celestial Saint of Martial Arts said, "I'm also paying attention to many things. Right now, the 36th year of the heavenly talisman is getting closer and closer. There are only a few months left. We seem to be united and indestructible, but who knows what kind of earth-shattering changes will occur at that time. If all the reincarnated from the stars cause a ruckus, we can suppress them. But then the reincarnations of the heavenly kings, along with all sorts of external powers, the devil calamity, the demons, and the gods sealed by his majesty will break out of their seals. The world will immediately fall into chaos, and we won't be able to stop it. I've already calculated all of this. In the 36th year of the heavenly talisman, our imperial court will indeed face a great tribulation. This tribulation will cause the world to collapse, and if we can't suppress it, the world will lose its heart. If we can suppress it, then we'll have a huge fight with the reincarnated Emperor Heaven in the future." Gu Qinsha said, "So in the next few months, we have to plan carefully. We absolutely can't let our guard down. While Gu Chansha and the people of the Tranquil Immortal Department were discussing their next course of action, Do Yu had already fled the Divine Central Continent. He saw from a distance that the entire Divine Central Continent was enveloped in a heavenly net. This heavenly net could see everything down to the smallest detail. Even the slightest movement couldn't escape its surveillance. He immediately shivered. The Celestial Calmness Department is indeed terrifying, but at least I managed to escape. Doi recalled his bet with Gu Chunsha, and a cold smile appeared on her face. My son is the Punisher Heavenly King? How could I have a son? Just as she was laughing coldly, a voice rang out. Missy you, I didn't expect you to escape from Gu Chench's control. Do Yu turned his head. Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Chunsha. Hey. Chapter 826. Genius 1 second remembers go if you like. Say, providing you with exciting novels to read. Chapter 823. Whose son is it? Do Yu naturally knew Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha. She had originally hoped that this person and Gu Chansha would fight to the bitter end, and she would be the fisherman to reap the benefits. But things did not go as she wished. Even Gu Tiansha had lost to the Department of Tranquility. Lord of the Sun Moon, why are you blocking my way? Do Yu knew that this person had come with ill intentions, but they were both enemies of the Department of Tranquility. Perhaps there was a chance for cooperation. Of course it's with good intentions. I heard that Miss was captured by that detestable Gu Chinsha. Why did you escape? Could it be that there's a loophole in the Department of Tranquility? The Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha now looked like a young man with an elegant demeanor. He had a transcendent air about him that didn't give off the slightest hint of evil. Instead, he seemed extremely carefree and at ease, as if he were the center of the universe. Even the old-timers who saw the current Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha would think that he would be the most powerful sovereign in the future, the hegemon of heaven and earth. If Gu Tiansha were to pretend to be the Emperor of Heaven, he would probably be misunderstood. That's my secret, so I can't tell you. But the Department of Tranquility is very powerful now. That Gu Chansha cultivated the divine land gourd and devoured 20 peerless treasures, creating a brand new divine land within it. Their plans are huge, and even you alone will find it hard to support them. Doyu vaguely felt that this Gu Tiansha had ill intentions, so she deliberately pointed out Gu Chench's strength so that Gu Tiansha would be a little wary. But the three heavenly venerables led by my father and the ancestor of heaven and earth, Immortal Lord Wan Senshi, have already formed an extremely powerful formation. It won't be a problem to resist the Department of Tranquility. Is that so? Gu Tiansha looked at Doyu with a faint smile. In my opinion, your so-called alliance is just a joke. Very soon, the three great heavenly venerates will be plotted against. Do you know that Xian Xin has already colluded with Jing Xiu and Gu Hua to form a small alliance? The three great heavenly venerates and the Hongmeng tree will be theirs to take. Jing Xiu Gu Hua? What kind of small fry is this? Do Yu frowned. Jing Xiu stole Jing Fanqing's innocuous heavenly king's origin. He now has the body of a heavenly king. Apart from that, he also grasped the desolate heart and obtained Desolate's recognition. What kind of small character do you think he is? The desolate desert was a true great thousand world. Its power was unparalleled, and it was not beneath the primordial Meng tree. Jing Xiu used the heavenly king's source to activate it, and he could obtain the full power of the desolate desert. Gu was the same. He had obtained the desolate sea heart, and was a heavenly king of calamities. With the two of them working together, and with Xian Xin's heart of the east, do you think the three great heavenly venerates would be lucky enough to survive? The Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, seemed to have grasped many secrets. He seemed to know all kinds of big powers in the world like the back of his hand. Then what do you want? Do Yu finally felt the seriousness of the matter. If what the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, said was true, then the three great heavenly venerates in this alliance were in danger. I have another identity. I am a lord of the sun and moon. You also know this. The lord of the sun and moon is in charge of everything in the future heavenly court. He is in charge of managing the universe and reporting directly to the Emperor of Heaven. Simply put, he is the major domo of the Emperor of Heaven and the Prime Minister of the Heavenly Court. I naturally know everything about the future heavenly court. The 9 heavenly kings are also my subordinates, including you. Your immortal slaying god, punishing gourd, originally belonged to one of the 9 heavenly kings, the punishing heavenly king, and you should be the punishing heavenly king's mother. Gu Tiansha looked at Doyu as if he could see through everything. In that case, the reason why you, Gu Chansha, let you go is so that the punishing heavenly king will come out and become his subordinate. He will then obtain the sacrifice of the punishing heavenly king. He will then be able to use the power of the sacrifice to make continuous breakthroughs in cultivation. Since you already know everything, then there must be a big matter for you to come find me today. Doyu looked around and was prepared to escape at any time. Although she had become a heavenly venerate, she knew that she was far from being a match for Gu Tiansha. Moreover, she had already lost the immortal slaying god punishing gourd. Even if she had the gourd, she would still be defeated by Gu Tiansha in one blow. Of course, it's a big matter. I have already communicated with your father, heavenly venerate victorious Do, to marry you to me as a concubine. Gu Tiansha looked Do up and down. This is also the intention of the 3 heavenly venerates. In that case, the punishing heavenly king will become my son, and we will establish the future heavenly court in the future. We can even hold the Emperor of Heaven hostage and order the vassals. What? Gu Chinsha, you're despicable. Do-Yu immediately knew about Gu Chinsha's prophecy. She couldn't help but feel regret. Yu, this is something that we have discussed. At this time, 3 figures appeared beside the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha. They were victorious Do, Yuan Gu, and heavenly venerate Pu Tua. These 3 heavenly venerates had come with their clones. It was unknown what their true bodies were doing. Heavenly venerate victorious Do said, "You, the Sun Moon Lord, has already cooperated with us to increase our control over the primordial tree. If you join forces with him, we will form a stable alliance. In addition, when the punishing heavenly king comes out, we will be able to carry out the final refinement of the primordial tree." Father, you must not do this. My Tao is to fly high in the sky, to be independent and not be bound by anything. By saying this, you are breaking my Tao. Once my Tao is broken, I might not even be able to maintain my heavenly venerate realm. Do-Yu howled. This is not up to you. This is the general trend. At this time, another person appeared beside the Sun Moon, Lord Gu Tiansha. It was the great burning heavenly king, Xiaoyan. This person had originally controlled the great burning dynasty's population of hundreds of billions. On top of that, he was the reincarnation of 7 endless treasures. He should have possessed great authority. However, all of them had been defeated by Gu Qinsha, and he had become a stray dog. Therefore, the great burning heavenly king was filled with endless resentment. He wanted nothing more than to exterminate all the citizens of the Yanko and kill Gu Chansha and the Tranquil Immortal Bureau. He wanted to use the most vicious method to take revenge. It's decided. At this time, Gu Tiansha waved his hand. Immediately, a sky curtain descended and covered the entire space-time. He began a major shift. In the next moment, this space-time arrived at an unknown place. This place was filled with boundless light. There was no darkness. Flowing golden flames were everywhere. The golden flames surged violently, and many firebirds were born. There were phoenixes, fire crows, and 3-legged golden crows. This is the sun? Do-Yu felt a great threat. That's right. This is the sun in the sky. It shines endlessly. It is the supreme ruler of the great 1,000 worlds. The size of the sun is far from what other great 1,000 worlds can compare to. Gu Tiansha said, "I advise you not to run around. Even with your heavenly venerate cultivation, you won't be able to escape. What do you want to do? Do Yu was thinking about how to escape. Of course, I want to have sex with you to quickly give birth to the Punisher King. I want to see how the Punisher King is born. The process from nothing to something is really magical to me. The birth of life has always been a secret of the heavenly Tao, especially the birth of such a strong existence. I was the one who created it. This will allow me to comprehend the secrets of the heavenly Tao deeper, and it won't be surprising for me to directly become heavenly venerate. Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha forced his way towards Do Yu. His cultivation was still at peak Tao realm 36 transformations. He used embodiment transformation and wasn't able to reach heavenly venerate. It is all because of that damn animal, Gu Tiansha. Gu Tiansha's countenance turned malevolent. If it wasn't for me seizing away 1/10 of my source energy, I would have long since advanced to the heavenly sovereign realm, sweeping through the world and breaking through everything. But now, he caused my source energy to be incomplete, making it extremely difficult for me to advance further. But when I devour the Heaven Emperor, it will be his death date. Do Yu's body moved, and he was about to flee. But Gu Tiansha pointed, and instantly, numerous golden chains landed. They locked Do Yu up and tied him up in the air. No matter how he struggled, he couldn't do anything. Gu Tiansha, I admit defeat. At this moment, Do Yu knew where her only savior was. A light flashed in her mind, and she admitted defeat to Gu Tiansha. She bet with Gu Tiansha that if she admitted defeat, she would believe in Gu Tiansha's ideals. Now, she totally admitted defeat. She thought to herself, if Gu Tiansha can save me, then I don't mind accepting your ideals. Your ideals include freedom for everyone, and it doesn't conflict with my Tao. How long? The moment she admitted defeat, an aura came from her body. A huge amount of energy was suddenly released. It was as if Gu Tiansha had done something to her body. King's Source. Gu Tiansha was about to pounce over and feast, but he didn't expect the aura of King's Source to burst out from Do Yu's body. This King's Source was murderous and could cut through everything. The murderous aura spread slightly and shattered the golden chains that bound him. Then, a talisman appeared above Do Yu's head. This talisman exploded in an instant and formed a complete divine continent, which was even more perfect than the divine continent of the Central Plains. This was the divine continent in Gu Tiansha's mind. It was the divine continent in the hearts of all living beings. How long? The divine continent operated and exploded, opening up a passage and breaking away from Gu Tiansha's control. Gu Tiansha. Gu Tiansha leaped up and turned into a huge hand, grabbing at Gu Tiansha. But Gu Tiansha's methods were extremely fast. Even with Gu Tiansha's cultivation, he couldn't catch it, and Do Yu escaped. The air around Do Yu's body circulated, and in the next moment, she was already in Sin State City in the Divine Continent. This was a small courtyard in Sin State City, with 3 entrances and 3 exits. It was very peaceful and leisurely. Gu Tiansha sat on a stool in the courtyard, as if he had already calculated what would happen to her. What do you think? Do Yu, you're safer in our calmness deity department. Even your father, the 3 celestial venerables, sold you out a long time ago. Do Yu frowned. She could feel that there seemed to be a powerful new life growing in her body, and her expression changed drastically. You've been setting things up in my body for a long time. Is my son yours now? Reading, a better reading experience. Chapter 8:27. I didn't do anything to you. What makes you think that the sun in your body is mine? Gu Tiansha looked at Do Yu and smiled. He didn't deny it, but he didn't admit it either. I knew that you wouldn't let me off so easily, Do Yu said. If it's not you, then who is it? Your methods are already beyond my imagination. If the sun in my body isn't yours, then whose is it? No matter what, it's a fact that a life has been born in your body. Moreover, that life is indeed the Punisher Heavenly King. Gu Tiansha said, there's not much meaning in discussing whose son it is. Why don't we let the Punisher Heavenly King be born and then build the calming immortal department together, control the future, and subjugate the Emperor of Heaven? That would be the most meaningful. I've already admitted defeat. You could do whatever you want. Do you had completely lost the ability to resist Gu Chen's unfathomable methods. Moreover, he was already disappointed in the three celestial venerables. The three celestial venerables had actually sold her out, and to the master of the sun and moon, Gu Chensha at that. This caused her to completely lose some degree of trust. Rather than being sold out, it was better to do something earth-shattering with the calming immortal department. Things might not be as depressing as you think. Gu Chensha said, cooperating with me, believing in our principles, offering sacrifices to our ideals, and planning our future is admittedly going against the heavenly Tao and dealing with the Emperor of Heaven. However, it's precisely because of this that it's challenging and fun. I believe that with your personality, you wouldn't do things according to the future, right? You've successfully convinced me. Since that's the case, I'll rely on the calming immortal department and see what great things I can accomplish. As Doyu closed her eyes, a wave of sacrificial power soared into the sky and poured into the little Hongmeng tree. She was offering sacrifices to the calming immortal department's principles and approved of their future plans. In the instant she offered sacrifices, her destiny was connected to the calming immortal department's destiny. Just like how the longevity god had relied on the calming immortal department, they were inseparable. They would prosper together, and they would suffer together. Any form of allegiance was unreliable. Only the connection of fate energy was the most stable. Right now, Do Yu had completely followed Gu Chensha and the Celestial Tranquility Department. Between the priests, their destinies were already tightly linked. She could faintly feel some kind of rejection from the heavenly mandate. It was the heavenly Tao that had already abandoned her. She had chosen the Celestial Tranquility Department. She would definitely not be accepted by the heavenly Tao or the future celestial heavens. Actually, with her original fate, she was the mother of the Punisher Heavenly King. In the future, she would definitely be able to achieve great things and obtain an extremely high status. But now, if he gave up on this and joined the calming immortal department, it would be equivalent to giving up on all future glory and glory. But she felt a sense of relief. Now that the heavenly Daos have fallen, the calm immortal department might be able to create a brand new situation. In truth, how many people are willing to comply with the heavenly Daos? My father and the three Empyreans also have ulterior motives. If a heavenly king appears in front of them, the first thing they will think of is how to devour him. This is also a heaven-defying action. There is no need to even mention the master of the sun and moon, Gu Tiansha. They are merely using the name of complying with the heavenly Daos. They will not stand out in secret. When the heavenly Daos, the Emperor of Heaven, and the future Celestial Tranquility Department and the Celestial Tranquility Department fight to the death, they will then reap the benefits. In this world, there are no such things as loyal ministers and filial sons. Do Yu sighed in the depths of his heart. If the Emperor of Heaven doesn't appear, there will be no backbone now. In this chaotic world, everyone is ambitious and ruthless. What you are thinking is that if the Emperor of Heaven doesn't appear, everyone is actually harboring ulterior motives. Gu Chensha saw through Do Yu's thoughts long ago. Don't think about anything else. Just give birth to the kid. I will use the Heaven Revolution, Tao, to wash away his fate and take away his sins. I will make him part of the Celestial Tranquility Department. That way, the Celestial Tranquility Department will lose the Heaven King forever. Even if the Emperor of Heaven appears, he won't be that bad. The Celestial Tranquility Department obtained Do Yu's sacrifice. The sacrifice power was like an ocean that surged endlessly. This power was so pure that one didn't need to refine it, and Gu Chensha would be able to obtain huge benefits. Now, Gu Chensha was at the Tao Realm Transformation 33, Truth Saint Heart. If he wanted to advance to the Tao Realm Transformation 34, Controlling Fate, he would need a huge fortuitous encounter. After obtaining Do Yu's loyalty, not only did he obtain the sacrifice power, but he also felt like his fate had increased. He had a clearer grasp of the future and could even change the direction of the future. This was because Do Yu would be the mother of the Heaven King in the future. She herself had fate and was an important person. However, Do Yu's fate couldn't be compared to her soon-to-be-born son, Punishment King. If I can make Punishment King join my Celestial Tranquility Department, with this fate and luck, I can break through many barriers. At least if I can make him yield, I can weaken the fate of the future Celestial Dynasty. That way, I can easily break through to the Tao Realm Transformation 34 Controlling Fate Realm. Then, I can accumulate strength and reach the Chaotic Dust Realm. It wouldn't be surprising for me to reach the Celestial Tranquility Realm at the Celestial Tranquility Realm. Gu Chunsha had a plan in his heart. If I reach the Tao Realm Transformation 36 Changing Celestial Tranquility Realm, my combat strength will increase by several times. At that time, I will be able to deduce where the various Heaven Kings are. The most important thing is to obtain the Gate Gene King and the Chaotic Dragon Gate. After refining it, I will be able to cultivate the strongest foundations and enter Celestial Venerable Realm. If I reach Celestial Venerable Realm, then it will be easy for me to suppress the world. Gu Chunsha was aiming for this realm. His current realm was still too low, and it wasn't enough to challenge the Heaven Tao. Even if he managed the God Continent and collected many treasures to craft the God Continent Gourd, he was still stuck at Saint Realm and was restricted by the Heaven Tao. If he became Celestial Venerable, then it would be totally different. He would be like a dragon returning to the ocean, a bird returning to the forest, a tiger returning to the mountain. He would be free and could attack or retreat. Moreover, he could suppress Gu Tiansha now, but if he reached Celestial Venerable Realm, then it would be hard for him to suppress him. At that time, there would be more variables. He and Gu Tiansha were people who didn't appear in the future. It was really difficult for such people to break through, but once they did, the ability to suppress heaven and earth and reverse the Heaven Tao would show itself. Now, Gu Tiansha had obtained the source of the Sun Moon Lord, and along with Great Burning King's loyalty, it was just a matter of time before he reached Celestial Venerable Realm. This was why he had to speed up. Give birth to my son? Do Yu still couldn't accept the fact that she had a son, especially since she didn't know who the son in her body belonged to. I'll give you a hand now. Gu Chunsha flipped his hands and formed a seal. Then his divine land gourd flew out. Lightning crackled within it, and smoke seeped out, enveloping Do Yu. The divine land gourd had completely transformed. It wasn't like it had been in the past, because it had fused with 20 endless treasures. It could be said that the current divine land gourd wasn't inferior to the desolate dragon sect, the sacrificial talisman, and the Hongmeng tree. Every time an endless treasure was added, its power would multiply. It wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The 20 endless treasures took up more than half of the endless number. The number of endless number was 36. Now that Gu Chunsha had fused 20 endless treasures into a furnace and used his own life to activate it, it became his second clone. Its power was unimaginable. The smoke that seeped out of the divine land gourd helped Do Yu wash away some kind of sin. Then it seeped in her body and started to wrap around the little life inside her. The little life kept wriggling, activating the nature of a Heavenly King. It was the Punisher Heavenly King. How mysterious. Gu Chunsha also felt that it was mysterious. Why was the new life born? Was the Punisher Heavenly King? How was the Heavenly King origin born? Even with his cultivation base and divination ability, he couldn't figure it out. He could only use this to pry into the secrets of the Heavenly Tao. This was the power of the Heavenly Tao to create things. However, the birth of the Punisher Heavenly King gave Gu Chunsha a lot of experience. He felt that the fate of the future was clearer. Many things that he couldn't see clearly and couldn't figure out became clearer. So that's how it is. The Tao of fate controls the Heavenly Tao. It's just a small change. Gu Qinsha suddenly had a hint of understanding. "Come out, Punisher Heavenly King." As he poured a large amount of power into it, the little life inside Do Yu's body grew stronger. Then it suddenly let out a cry and came out of Do Yu's head. When it came out, it was a divine light. Within the divine light was a baby. Behind the baby, there was a circle of light. You could vaguely see the cries of countless immortals. Countless cages imprisoned countless gods, demons, immortals, demons, and even powerful beings. His birth brought with it the punishment of weapons. He brought with him a fiendish aura, majesty, and intimidation. This was the Punisher Heavenly King. After being born, the baby-like Punisher Heavenly King opened his eyes and looked at Gu Qinsha. Immediately, an incomparably deep hatred and killing intent appeared in the depths of his eyes. Although he was born after absorbing Gu Qinsha's power, he had a deep hatred for Gu Qinsha. This came from an instinct. He had to kill Gu Qinsha, but the baby didn't attack. Instead, he turned into a streak of light and tried to escape. He knew that he definitely wasn't Gu Qinsha's match. Even the grand incinerating Heavenly King, who wielded countless treasures and was at the Heaven Longevity realm, as well as an empire with hundreds of billions of worshippers, was defeated by the ancient dust sand. Moreover, the current ancient dust sand was countless times more powerful than before. Not bad, not bad. The moment you are born, you have the 20 changes of the Tao realm, convergence, and dispersion impermanence realm. You also have magic power. Gu Qinsha casually moved and stopped the baby. Chapter 828. Remembering 09 in 1 second, providing you with exciting reading. Chapter 825. Gift of ambition. Gu Qinsha could suppress even the Emperor of Heaven, let alone a heavenly king. Moreover, the reason why this baby could be born was because of Gu Qinsha's methods. Gu Qinsha was very confident about all of this, because right now, no one and nothing could stop him. His power pressed down, and a circle of light flew out, surrounding the Punisher Heavenly King. He then chanted scriptures, and countless words seeped into the baby's body. The baleful aura in the baby's eyes grew stronger, and he said, "Gu Qinsha, how dare you? You actually dare to attack the Heavenly King. Do you know that you have truly violated the laws of heaven? You will no longer be forgiven by the heavenly Tao, and you will immediately be met with a great calamity." How laughable! Gu Qinsha looked at the baby. The uncataclysmic Heavenly King was taken away by Jing Qiu, and I don't see any great calamity coming. Moreover, I won't take away your Heavenly King's source. I'm just giving you a chance to walk on the right path, so that your status as a Heavenly King will be more beneficial to the development of the world. A new era is coming, and if you continue on the path of the future, your final outcome will be destruction. You will not be able to escape the shackles of fate and the heavenly Tao. But if you follow me, you can walk on a brand new path. No matter who the Heavenly King's source is passed on to, as long as he respects the arrangements of the heavenly Tao, he will conform to the will of the heavens. The Punisher Heavenly King said, if he goes against the will of the heavens, then he is wrong, and the Heavenly King's source will automatically fly away to find a suitable candidate. This is the same as plotting for one's position and not plotting for one's position. The Heavenly King doesn't belong to a person, but to some official position. If I give up my loyalty to the heavenly Tao and the Emperor of Heaven, then I will no longer be the Punisher Heavenly King. The position and the source will fall into someone else's hands. If you don't understand this, then your Department of Tranquility will have no way to fight against the Emperor of Heaven and the future Heavenly Court. But even if you understand, you can't fight back. In the future, the Emperor of Heaven will come into being and establish the Heavenly Court, ending the chaos and establishing eternal order. Anyone who goes against this will be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Department of Tranquility, Gu Qinsha, the more powerful you are, the greater the merit you will receive from the heavenly Tao. Because of how powerful you are, the greater the tribulation you will cause, and the faster the Emperor of Heaven will come into being. Without the two of you to serve as a foil, there will be no way to demonstrate the greatness of the Emperor of Heaven. In the future, only the Emperor of Heaven will quell the chaos and come into being. Only then will there be a new era. As for the two of you, you will be the greatest villains of that era. Gu Chansha listened quietly and didn't refute the Punisher Heavenly King. After the Punisher Heavenly King finished speaking, he said, "You're right. That's true. However, you underestimate a few things. Our power, our ideals, the ideals of all living things, and the will to be independent and free. Their desires can change the heavenly Tao and change the will of the heavens. That is the most powerful thing. You might be a heavenly king, but your level is still too low. Furthermore, there are basically no people who are truly loyal to the heavenly Tao or the Emperor of Heaven. They're all ambitious people. I don't think you need to do that. Why don't you switch allegiance? No matter what you say, I'll guard my essence. I won't join you. I know you want my sacrifice, and I want to use the power of my sacrifice to increase your cultivation base. That's even more useful than killing me and taking my essence. If you just kill me and take my essence, it won't be of much help to you." As the Punisher Heavenly King spoke, his body grew a bit larger until he looked like a 3 or 4-year-old boy. Your essence's influence on you is very deep, but it can be dispelled. Look at the Grand Burning Heavenly King. He has huge ambitions. His ambition is to rule over all living things and to gain the faith of billions of living things. In the end, he changed his mind. He wants to be the Emperor of Heaven and dominate the world. That's what it means to be ambitious. Guchen Sha said, "I can't convince you, but your ambition can change you." As he spoke, Guchen Sha suddenly moved and an illusion descended. This is the Great Fan Dynasty. There are hundreds of billions of lives here. Their thoughts, customs, and desires, as well as reverence. I will let you have a try now. Rule over billions of lives, and even the great prestige of the world. Your ambition will naturally grow. Immediately, the illusion enveloped the Punisher Heavenly King, and countless living things appeared around him. In this illusion, he pacified the world, ascended to the throne, and adjusted yin and yang. He won the respect of all living things, and countless people worshipped him, respected him, and looked up to him like a mountain. This was the possibility of giving birth to ambition. Of course, it wasn't an ambition, but a responsibility. A responsibility and commitment to all living things. 09, small, say net. 09, Guchen Sha, what are you doing? Dodi Yu frowned. After all, the Punisher Heavenly King had been born from her body, and they had a mother-son relationship. Although she didn't know who the father of the child was, she had a 70 to 80% guess that it had something to do with this Gu Chansha. A newborn baby may be intelligent, but because he's been overshadowed by his instincts, the Heavenly Tao has given him the destiny to assist the Emperor of Heaven. That's a fixed thought process. How is he any different from Puppet? Right now, I'm teaching him all sorts of knowledge and the principles of humanity. When he truly understands the Tao of man, he'll be able to suppress the Tao of heaven and naturally join my calming immortal department. Guchen Sha had already comprehended the art of changing people's hearts. Rumble. After a full 3 days and 3 nights, the illusion suddenly dissipated, and the Punisher Heavenly King had grown into a young man. His face was as smooth as jade, and he vaguely had the aura of a king that could pierce through the heavens and earth. He was completely different from the baby who wholeheartedly assisted the Emperor of Heaven 3 days ago, and who would not obey the calming immortal department no matter what. How is it? In this illusion, you may have experienced a dream, but the heart of all living things is real. How do you feel now? Guchen Sha looked at the young man in front of him. It's really like a dream, and people's hearts are hard to fathom. The world is actually so interesting. What's interesting isn't the various materials, but the human heart. The richness of the human heart far surpasses everything else. The young man sighed. When one reached an extremely high realm, in reality, many treasures and riches could be created from the chaos using one's own power. However, some things in the human heart could not be created. Hence, the prosperity that the Punisher Heavenly King spoke of was not the prosperity of the Glyph dynasty, but the thoughts of hundreds of billions of people, far surpassing everything else. In that case, are you willing to join my calming immortal department? Gu Qinsha asked. I'm willing. At this moment, the young man who was the Punisher Heavenly King pondered for a while. I've already grown in this illusion, and I've reconsidered. Since the great burning Heavenly King and the innocuous Heavenly King both have their own plans and ambitions, I should have some as well. Moreover, the Emperor Heaven has yet to be born, and I don't know how the future will develop. From the looks of it now, the calming immortal department is the best choice. Perhaps the calming immortal department can really replace the future heavenly court and change the mandate of heaven. Very well, from now on, you shall be called Gu Xinjian. Gu Qinsha said, us third-generation people all have a name sword. The second generation was named after sand, and the third generation was named after sword. For example, Gu Changjian, Gu Tanjian. The current Gu Xinjian's identity was the Punisher Heavenly King, and he was given this name. This made Do Yu immediately understand the truth of the matter. Gu Qinsha, you gave him this name, so it's clear that he's your son. You've done something to me. Do Yu completely proved one thing. Also, the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha and my father, the three great heavenly venerables, were they all fake? Were they illusions created by you? That's right. Gu Qinsha smiled faintly. When you escaped, the Lord of the Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha, the three great heavenly venerables, and even the great burning Heavenly King were all illusions created by me. However, if you hadn't realized it in time, even if you escaped and found the three great heavenly venerables, your fate would have been much worse. Now that things have come to this, there's no other way out. I can only walk this path to the end. Do Yu said, I want to see if you have the ability to subdue the Emperor Heaven, change the future, and become the overlord of everything. I don't want to be an overlord. I want to be the guide of all living beings. Everyone is an overlord, and everyone is the heavenly Tao. Gu Qinsha waved his hand. This is a realm that you won't be able to understand. However, it doesn't matter. Even I'm trying to find this path. Just then, the Punisher Heavenly King, Gu Xinjian, started the sacrificial prayer. A huge amount of fate energy and the purest sacrificial power collided and transformed. All of a sudden, it was injected into the little Hongmeng tree of the Celestial Tranquility Department. There were many fruits on the little Hongmeng tree, and each fruit was a unique world. One of them was a fruit world, which was filled with sacrificial power. Just then, the Punisher Heavenly King, Gu Xinjian's sacrificial power was injected into it. Immediately, the fruit shone brightly and expanded rapidly. Then, the sacrificial power within the fruit was transferred to the roots of the little Hongmeng tree. The little Hongmeng tree started to expand, and more worlds were born on it. Very good. Gu Qinsha's God state, Gord communicated with the little Hongmeng tree to purify the sacrificial power within. At the same time, due to the Punisher Heavenly King's submission, the huge amount of fate gathered on his body. In that instant, he broke through some unknown variable and rose to the Tao Realm 34 transformation, controlling fate. He had subdued the Punisher Heavenly King, which meant that he had won a crucial step in the battle against the future Heavenly Court. The 9 Heavenly Kings were the core higher-ups of the future Heavenly Court. The Punisher Heavenly King occupied some of the fate energy in the Heavenly Court. With the addition of this Heavenly King, Gu Qinsha was able to comprehend the changes in his own fate energy. Instantly, he felt like he had broken through the calculations of the Heavenly Tao. Mobile users, please browse M. Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 829. 1 second, small, say section net. Org, wonderful pop-up window free reading. Chapter 826. A great improvement in cultivation right now. Gu Qinsha's cultivation required a huge amount of luck and unparalleled accumulation to advance to the next realm. However, After he advanced to the next realm, his combat power, calculation ability, refining ability, manufacturing ability, and control ability all increased by a lot. Now that he had obtained the loyalty of the Punisher King, Gu Xingjian, and cultivated the 34 transformation of the Tao realm, Qi control, with just a slight movement, his power covered the heavens and earth, enveloping the central divine prefecture, the four wastelands, and even the places outside the four wastelands. It actually felt like it was going to sweep through the heaven realm. That's right. With the improvement of my cultivation level, the power of the Emperor of Heaven's wrath of the desolate primordial godly thunder is even greater. In addition, I can use it a few more times. Gu Qinshan knew what his trump card was. Last time, the Devil Army had assembled in preparation for a counterattack. Countless old-timers, including members of the archaic Devil Clan, and even Primal Chaos Elder Devils had been present. If they had slaughtered their way to the surface, even if the calming Immortal Department had been able to hold them off, it would have been a major disaster. Many people would have been killed or injured. Gu Qinshan had used the Emperor of Heaven's wrath to destroy the Devilfolk's stronghold in one fell swoop. In fact, he had even wiped out the entire first level of the Devilfolk. Countless old-timers in the Devilfolk had been so terrified that they didn't dare to come out again. Because of that, the common people had been able to go on another large-scale hunt and gain more experience. Don't underestimate such a small amount of time. Even if it was just a few months, it would be enough for so many people in the world to be tempered, and countless heroes would emerge. In the era of fortuitous encounters in China, it was not impossible for someone who did not know martial arts to cultivate to the god level within a few months. In the past, cultivating the first transformation of the Tao realm, consuming qi and abstaining from eating, required great comprehension, luck, and even decades of bitter cultivation to be able to reach this realm. Now, because the Dragon Man fist had spread throughout the world, it had seized the fortune of the world. It had already surpassed countless secret techniques since ancient times. Ordinary people only needed to cultivate this fist technique slightly to enter the Tao and increase their talent. This was a huge merit for the calming Immortal Department. Of course, it was a violation of the balance of the heavenly Taos. To the heavenly Taos, this was not merit, but a sin. Gu Qinshan's vast will covered the four wilds of the divine prefecture. As it spread out into the heavens, he understood a certain principle. The heavenly Tao's creation of humans is far too perfect. It far surpasses that of demons, fiends, immortals, gods, and any other races. Therefore, humans were deeply feared by nature. The heavenly Tao knew that if humans rose up, they would cause great damage to its rules. Therefore, countless disasters have befallen it. As a result, humans are always in a captive state. Gu Qinshan finally understood. However, the heavenly Tao cannot leave humans. For the heavenly Tao to evolve, it needs human sacrifices. Among the human sacrifices, there is something that can spur the heavenly Tao to evolve. The heavenly Tao nurtures humans, which is equivalent to planting crops and cows. Tao of the heavenly Tao sees us as enemies. Gu Qinshan understood, but the heavenly Tao can't leave humans. If it wants to evolve, it needs human sacrifices. Among the sacrifices, it will be time for the heavenly Tao to kill me. Right now, the fate energy of the Imperial Court is still not enough to trigger a true counterattack from the heavenly Tao. If I manage to comprehend the Dragonless Heart Sutra, I will be able to cause everyone in the world to become an anomaly. That will be the time when the heavenly Tao truly exterminates me, disregarding everything else. This time, Gu Qinshan's cultivation base had skyrocketed. His sacred dragon heart cultivation technique's pinnacle calculations were vaguely showing signs of a breakthrough. This was the highest essence of the Dragon Gate. It was the gateway to the heavenly court. It was controlled by the gate, Jin Heavenly King. This was the highest essence of the primordial Dragon Gate. In the future heaven court, the primordial Dragon Gate was a gateway to the heaven court that was controlled by the gate, Jin Heavenly King. This is the highest essence of the primordial Dragon Gate. It is the gateway to the heavenly court, controlled by the gate, Jin, heavenly king. If you want to be promoted and enter the heavenly court, you have to go through this gateway. Gu Qinsha had long seen through this secret. He wanted to obtain this door and the gate, Jin, heavenly king. Then, he would deduce a supreme technique that surpassed this door, which was the dragonless heart technique. Once the dragonless mental cultivation method was completed, Gu Qinsha would truly be able to move the world and allow everyone in the world to surpass the shackles of the heavenly Tao. In this way, the heavenly Tao would naturally counterattack regardless of everything. At that time, it would truly be the time to decide the outcome. This person is so strong. When Dou sensed the changes in Gu Qinsha, her heart was already in turmoil. She had pledged her allegiance to the Tranquil Fairy Agency, but her thoughts were still somewhat complicated. This was because she knew that once the Tranquil Fairy Agency became tyrannical, they would definitely make a move against the three great heavenly venerates. After knowing that the three celestial venerables sold her to Gu Qinsha, Dou felt that her father, Celestial Venerable Victorious Dou, was not as weak as she thought. But because of the sacrifice, she was connected to the calming immortal department. She couldn't betray them. If she did, she would be the first to suffer. She also knew that Gu Qinsha could kill her with a flick of his finger. In particular, after receiving the sacrificial power of the Punisher King, Gu Qinsha would only grow stronger and stronger. He would improve with every passing moment, and the Heaven Longevity Realm Antiques would no longer be his match. In fact, even if they reached the Heaven Origin Realm, they might not be able to do anything to him. If he continues to improve, Gu Qinsha might even have the ability to subdue the primordial tree, Dou thought. Everything is ready now. After Gu Qinsha mastered the Tao Realm's 34 transformations, fate control, he stood up and slowly retracted his consciousness. Then he said to Gu Xingjian, "Enter the little Hongmeng tree and cultivate diligently. Make use of its power to quickly reach the Heavenly Venerate Realm before the Heavenly Talisman Year 36 arrives. Although I've helped you improve your cultivation a little, allowing you to reach the God Realm, your current strength is still too weak. If you go out like this, you will definitely be stripped of your source energy, just like Jing Fanqing." Although Gu Xingjian was the Punisher Heavenly King, even a Heavenly King needed to cultivate to raise his cultivation step by step. He definitely couldn't be invincible the moment he was born. When he was just born, the Punisher Heavenly King was at the Tao Realm 20 transformations, gathering and dispersing impermanence. In the current situation, this kind of realm could not cause any big waves at all. On the other hand, Gu Qinsha had helped him increase his cultivation. In the illusion that lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, Gu Xingjian had activated his origin and finally made successive breakthroughs, reaching the divine level. Such a cultivation speed was simply shocking. It was almost impossible since ancient times, even if one had a fortuitous encounter. But Gu Xingjian was a future heavenly king, only below the Emperor of Heaven and the Lord of the Sun and Moon. He was a big shot of the heavenly court in the future, so it was only natural for him to have such a cultivation speed. After reaching the God Realm, even a heavenly king's cultivation speed would slow down. But in the calming Immortal Bureau, there were countless resources and cultivation techniques. No faction could compare to them, so Gu Xingjian would be able to advance again very quickly. And what was even more amazing was that Gu Xingjian's power of worship could quickly nourish the little primordial tree, causing the tree to undergo a fundamental change. With Gu Qinsha's own refinement, it was only a matter of time before this tree surpassed the real primordial tree. Yes, Gu Xingjian now knew how amazing Gu Qinsha was. Even if he truly became a future heavenly king and cultivated to the Heaven Essence realm, he might not be able to do anything to Gu Qinsha. So, he obediently entered the little primordial tree to cultivate and worship. Now that my value has been squeezed dry by you, there shouldn't be any problems. Dou smiled bitterly. You are a celestial sovereign, the 4th celestial sovereign of our calming Immortal Bureau, the martial saint celestial sovereign, Chang Wei-yong, the king of common people. Next is you, Do-yu. Celestial sovereigns are big shots everywhere. Even when the heavenly court is established, celestial sovereigns will still be rulers. Their status will far exceed many demons, immortals, and demons. Gu Qinsha smiled. Moreover, I need you to do some things to increase your luck. You're not going to ask me to infiltrate the Black Heaven-Earth Sec Alliance, are you? Do-yu asked. That's right. I've already activated a secret art to hide your luck. Unless the Emperor of Heaven appears, no one will be able to divine that your luck is actually connected to the calming Immortal Bureau. You can use this to infiltrate their ranks, Gu Qinsha said. With your level of cultivation, you just need to charge in and destroy their alliance. Why do you need to do something unnecessary? In this alliance, the Immortal Master, Wan Senshi, the Dharma Saint, the three celestial sovereigns, and the progenitor of heaven and earth are all cunning people. It won't be easy for me to hide from them. Do-yu stared at Gu Qinsha. This alliance is not to be underestimated. Xian Xin contacted Jing Xiu and Gu Hua. With arid triad's heart gathered together, even I have to be wary of them. I might not be afraid, but if the divine prefecture is thrown into chaos by them, then the losses will outweigh the gains. I don't want to force these people into a corner. Once I become a celestial sovereign, I will naturally be able to easily take care of them. Besides, I didn't ask you to infiltrate them for myself, but for you. Gu Qinsha's voice was filled with an unfathomable tone. For me? Do-yu was puzzled. Even if she had the intelligence of a celestial sovereign, it was difficult for her to understand Gu Qinsha's actions. Before Gu Qinsha, her celestial sovereign cultivation base and intelligence were like that of a 3-year-old child. That's right. You are the mother of the Punisher King. Once you join the calming Immortal Bureau, you will face a great disaster. I might be able to resolve your disaster, but it will be an external force that will prevent you from being able to train. Gu Qinsha's voice became even more profound. If you join this alliance, you will obtain a great fortuitous event. In fact, you can even shift your disaster and deceive the world. Not only will the alliance bear your disaster, you will also be able to steal from the heavens. If you succeed, you will never face any disasters, and your level of cultivation will reach successive breakthroughs. You will have hope of reaching Heaven Origin Realm in the future. Heaven Origin Realm. Do-yu's eyes sparkled. Chapter 830. That's right. The alliance formed by the three Celestials and the Patriarchs has many treasures, such as the Endless Heart, the Immortal Lord's prehistoric one-God system, Wan Senshi's Immortal World Essence will, Wu Dankong's Heavenly Sacrifice Talisman, Arid Triad's Heart, Heavenly King of Calamity Gu Hua, and Heavenly King of Innocuous Jing Xiu. Gu Qinsha said, there's definitely going to be a huge competition between them. If you can benefit from it, wouldn't you be able to reach the heavens in a single step? For example, if you can get any of those treasures, it's not impossible for you to reach the Heaven Primal level. If I reveal my identity, I'll probably be in a lot of danger. Do-yu is still thinking. Riches come from danger. If I don't take the risk, how will I be able to shine in the future? Gu Qinsha said, don't worry. You're a celestial now, and you're very valuable. Even Do Sheng, Yuan Gu, and Subhuo will definitely help you and help you benefit from their alliance. Take advantage of this opportunity and send the power of your sacrifice into the Endless Heart. As he spoke, Gu Qinsha flicked his finger and sent an endless stream of power into Do-yu's body. Do-yu's cultivation base skyrocketed, and he could vaguely sense the aura of a heavenly king. It was the aura of the Executioner King. Do-yu was stunned. You're still the mother of the Executioner King, so you naturally carry his aura. In fact, the Executioner King is inside you and has yet to be born. This is my secret art, the Tao of mending the heavens. That's why your sacrifice carries the aura of a heavenly king. That way, you'll gain the trust and support of the three Celestials. Gu Qinsha said, deceive them with a set of lies, then help them kill the patriarchs and destroy the alliance. You'll be one of my pawns. Of course, given your current strength, you can secretly borrow the power of the Celestial Commerce Department, and the patriarchs won't be able to do anything to you. Gu Qinsha had meticulously prepared a series of grand plans to destroy the great alliance that Patriarch Heaven and Earth had built. In terms of schemes and viciousness, even the great spirit god can't compare to you. Though you finally understood Gu Qinsha's calculations. That's just average, said Meng Hao. Now that my magic power has reached this level, it's easy for me to control destiny. Your destiny is working with the Celestial Commerce Department. If I hadn't cultivated the 34 transformations to the level of controlling destiny, I wouldn't have been able to deceive destiny. But now, other than the Emperor of Heaven, no one can see through me. This will make you extremely safe. Gu Qinsha waved his hand. This is your opportunity. You will naturally know what to do. Since I can advance to the Divine Prime Realm, I will definitely seize this opportunity. Do Yu's body moved slightly, and she disappeared from the courtyard. Gu Qinsha watched her leave, and his eyes darkened. This woman is the best bait. I've placed the best bait on her. Let's see if the Emperor of Heaven or the Master of the Sun and Moon, Gu Qinsha, will take the bait. If they can see that she's actually from the Celestial Commerce Department, they will beat her at her own game and let me reap what I've sown. They don't know that I have a plan within a plan, and it's a chain of plans. Let's see who's more scheming. He had asked Do Yu to infiltrate the alliance, and it definitely wasn't as simple as it seemed. Feeling the huge sacrificial power rolling over, Gu Qinsha slapped the divine prefecture gourd, condensing the sacrificial power of the executioner ancient punishment sword. He extracted the undying substance from it, and then poured it into the gourd. Instantly, the divine prefecture gourd surged with wind and thunder, and worlds were born and destroyed. Tides were born, nebulae surged, and fate energy spun. It vaguely gave off the feeling of a greater kiliocosm. This divine prefecture gourd was originally made from Xing Qingshi's body. After fusing with the immortal slaying, god-punishing gourd and 20 other endless treasures, and after Gu Qinsha's painstaking refinement, it wouldn't be strange for it to become a greater kiliocosm in the future. Whoosh! Gu Qinsha's figure also disappeared. In the next moment, he'd arrived at the distant incineration continent. Standing high in the sky, he looked down at the hundreds of billions of citizens, countless cities, roads, sects, cultivators, clans, and factions on the continent. It was a complicated mess, and the sacrificial power was also in disorder. It wasn't highly cohesive or unified at all. The great incineration heavenly king, Xiao Yan, was far inferior to Gu Taxian in the way of governance. Even after 30 years of governance, he was far from being able to compare to the Yonko of the divine central continent. Of course, even if Xiao Yan's strength had reached the heavenly longevity realm, the difference between him and Gu Taxian was incalculable. At this time, the world still didn't know that their emperor had been chased away by Gu Qinsha and replaced by a new imperial court. However, some of the more powerful people among the people had secretly sensed that the situation in the imperial court had changed in some fundamental way. The imperial court issued edicts one after another and established a secret organization called the Celestial Pacification Bureau to supervise the cultivators with magical powers in the world. The imperial court's power had grown a lot stronger. Many of the sacrificial rituals among the people had been cut off, and what replaced them was a philosophy of humans and dragons. This time, Gu Qinsha had obtained the sacrificial power of Punisher Ancient Punishment Sword and cultivated to the Dao Realm 34 transformations to control fate. The first thing he wanted to do was to change the Great Incineration Empire and make it a part of the Yonko. He had left behind many chess pieces and created thousands of god generals. They were all experts above the Dao Realm 20 transformations, and they formed the Celestial Pacification Bureau in the name of the Imperial Court. They spread throughout the world and spread their ideals among the people. However, just relying on this to change the ideals of the hundreds of billions of people in a short time was like trying to put out a cart of firewood with a cup of water. Even if he subdued the upper echelons of the imperial court, a saint and a few god realm experts, he wouldn't be able to quickly make use of the hundreds of billions of people. But now that his cultivation had improved, he could do many things. So, he landed in the capital city of the Great Incineration Empire. The Great Burning Empire was extremely large. If one were to follow the orders of the imperial court, it was likely that one would not be able to reach the border even after decades if one rode a fast horse at an ordinary speed. Fortunately, the Great Burning Heavenly King, Xiao Yin, already had a series of methods. After all, his cultivation was deep, and he was also the reincarnation of a heavenly king. His control over the entire empire was quite good. He had obtained 7 endless treasures and was about to go all out and completely change his empire, causing the empire to erupt with tyrannical power and destiny. Then, he would occupy the Yong dynasty and steal the divine prefecture. However, it was at this critical juncture that Gu Chansha arrived and chased him away. The capital city of the Great Incineration Empire was exactly the same as in ancient times. The ancient streets, stone slabs, city walls, soldiers, shops, carriages, wanderers, scholars, ladies, porters, coachmen, etc. All sorts of people walked about, and it was really bustling. I heard that the imperial court has changed. Many voices were transmitted into Gu Chencha's consciousness. In many secret places, well-informed people were discussing the current situation. This was especially so in the mansions of some high officials and nobles. All sorts of discussions were going on at almost every moment. That's right. The imperial court has actually set up the Celestial Pacification Department to monitor the unusual movements of the people. I heard that they've captured many cultivators these days. It seems like they're cleaning up all sorts of sacrifices in order to maintain their faith. Also, the emperor hasn't been in court for many days. It seems like something has gone wrong. Right now, the imperial court is being managed by a few cabinet ministers. The few cabinet ministers' cultivation is above the god level, and the grand chief is a saint. Since the emperor isn't around, they can still control the situation. However, if they want to carry out a reform, they probably won't be able to do it. Now, they've actually started to kill cultivators and clean up sacrifices. I'm afraid it will cause the Under Heaven family clans and some immortal cultivators to retaliate. The world will be in chaos. We can only wait and see what kind of tricks the imperial court is playing. If something happens to the emperor, that would be fun. I heard that back then, when the emperor unified the world, he had suppressed many powerful existences. If the emperor isn't around, these powerful existences will come out one after another, and the world will once again fall into a situation of being torn apart. I've heard a piece of news recently. It said that our imperial court is actually a very small country in the world. The true center of the world is a place called the Divine Continent. The emperor of the Divine Continent can be called the Son of Heaven. He has obtained an edict from the heavens. Our emperor went to fight for the Divine Continent and was killed by someone. Right now, the imperial court has actually been secretly controlled by the people of the Divine Continent. There's such a huge matter. Our empire would need tens of years, or even hundreds of years to reach the borders. Yet, it's not the center of the world. What Divine Continent? I've never heard of it before. There's a 70% chance that this is true. Haven't you guys seen the movements in the imperial court? The newly established Tranquil Immortal Bureau is cleaning up the officials and foreign generals who were originally loyal to the emperor. This is a situation that is about to change. However, they haven't done it openly. After all, there are many officials who are loyal to the emperor. If they all rebel, I'm afraid that the world will immediately fall into chaos. Right now, many people are watching to see if the emperor is around. If he isn't around, I'm afraid that chaos will immediately occur. Being in this capital city, we are in the center of the whirlpool of trouble. We have to get away from this calamity. Yes, I have a bad feeling about this. Countless secret discussions were transmitted into Gu Chencha's mind in an instant. He instantly grasped the hearts of the entire capital city. The capital city of the Great Fan dynasty was extremely huge. There were hundreds of millions of people living in it. It was extremely prosperous and wealthy. Among them, there were also many people with profound cultivation who lived in seclusion in the imperial court. In short, the current situation in the capital city was one of fear and unease. Many nobles and people who understood the news were extremely uneasy about the future. With a thought, Gu Chunsha arrived at the center of the imperial palace on the throne of the emperor. At this time, the cabinet officials of the imperial court were discussing the situation and countermeasures. A. Chapter 831. As expected, I've lured out a few big fish. Gu Chunsha was still observing from within the Sin province. The Sin province was the center of the divine central continent after all. It was connected to the demon realm and had become the largest battlefield. Storms raged and heroes gathered here. Heroes came forth in large numbers, with countless fortuitous encounters. Fortune gathered, and fortune was strong. If the heavenly kings, the emperor of heaven, or even the higher-ups of the heavenly court were to appear, they would definitely appear in the Sin province. His plan in the Incinerate continent was to bait them. The great burning heavenly king would definitely not be willing to give up the massive empire of hundreds of billions of people that he had painstakingly managed for more than 30 years. Although the quality of these hundreds of billions of people was far inferior to the 10 billion in the divine central continent, it still surpassed the quality of some ordinary worlds. Gu Chunsha waved his hand slightly, and two masses of sacrificial power appeared in front of him. One had been obtained from the Great Burning Empire, and the other was from a Yonko of the divine central continent. These two masses of sacrificial power squirmed like two gems. Upon closer inspection, one could tell which was better and which was worse. The sacrificial power of the Great Burning Empire was powerful, but it lacked something crucial. It was an essence that combined all the heavens and realms, the center of the universe, and the supremacy of the world. The sacrificial power of the people of the Yonko of the divine central continent contained this aura. It was a struggle against the heavens, a struggle for life against the Tao. There was a huge difference. It was no wonder that since ancient times, only the emperor of the divine central continent was called the Son of Heaven. If the heavenly Tao did not suppress the development of the divine central continent and bring down the demon calamity, then the Son of Heaven could gather the power of sacrificial power and break free of the heavenly Tao's restraints. Fortunately, the humans had a Gu Taxian who had begun to defy the heavenly Tao and stop the heavenly Tao from keeping the humans in captivity. Gu Chunsha understood everything now. He knew the past, present, and future. He also had a feeling that the changes in the future were within his grasp. His eyes looked from the bottomless sea of sin to the endless devil's domain. This was the origin of the devil, the source of the turmoil in the world, and also a part of the dark side of the way of heaven. If the devil tribe was exterminated, the way of heaven would be completely incomplete and even begin to collapse. Then a new era would begin and unfold slowly. Great Burning Heavenly King is interesting. To deal with Gu Tiansha, he even brought along Heavenly King Jin. That Heavenly King is extremely powerful now, especially since he has mastered the Raging Dragon Gate and can use it skillfully. If he suddenly attacks, with the help of so many Heavenly Kings, as long as Gu Tiansha hasn't reached the Celestial Master Realm, it will be hard for him to resist. Gu Chunsha secretly calculated. However, rumor has it that the strongest among the 9 Heavenly Kings is not Invincible Heavenly King, Great Burning Heavenly King, Punisher Heavenly King, nor Heavenly King Jin or Heavenly King Calamity. It is Chaotic Heavenly King. In the future Heavenly Court, Chaotic Heavenly King will control the ages and break through the heavens. He will be the leader of the Heavenly Kings. Although his position is below the Lord of Sun and Moon, his true cultivation can be said to be on par with the Lord of Sun and Moon. In the distant future, countless upheaval in the heavenly court and changes in the world will be suppressed by chaotic heavenly king. This chaotic heavenly king doesn't have any treasures. Chaos is his treasure. He rules over chaos and gives birth to all things. I wonder if this heavenly king has been born yet. Second on the list is Heavenly King Daluo. This heavenly king manages order like a net of Daluo that covers time and space. The word big referred to the boundless vastness and limitless power. Luo is the law of all things, all order, all rules, and the foundation of everything. The true meaning of Daluo is to lay down all order and law in the vast and boundless space and time. As the saying goes, heaven's net has a wide net, but it never escapes. Other than that, the third-ranked heavenly king was Heavenly King Donghua. This heavenly king controlled the primordial mist tree and helped the heavenly court regulate vitality, operate feng shui, and improve fate. He was also extremely honorable. Rank fourth was the wisdom heavenly king. This heavenly king's wisdom was boundless, his divine light boundless, able to change the changes of the myriad worlds, develop forward, and maintain the heavenly court. He's also an extremely powerful person. Gu Chunsha now knew the origins and abilities of all the heavenly kings. Heavenly King Chaos, Heavenly King Daluo, Heavenly King Donghua, Heavenly King Wisdom, Heavenly King Jin, Heavenly King Punishment, Heavenly King Calamity, Heavenly King Innocuous, and Heavenly King Grand Inferno. The last 5 of the 9 heavenly kings had already appeared, but the first 4 had yet to reveal themselves. However, Gu Chunsha felt that these people would appear one by one sooner or later, or they had already appeared and were just hiding in the dark. The Grand Inferno Heavenly King was the first to appear. Among the 9 heavenly kings, he was ranked the lowest, and he was also the weakest. The most terrifying ones were the Primal Chaos Heavenly King and the Grand Overarching Heavenly King. These 2 heavenly kings were basically the future pillars of the heavenly court. Together, they would form the Primal Chaos Heavenly Tao. They could even replace the Emperor of Heaven to control the life and death of the world. The Lord of the Sun and Moon was the one who brought light and yin and yang to the many worlds. If these 2 heavenly kings had already appeared and were plotting something in secret, even Gu Chunsha had to be extremely cautious with his current cultivation. Otherwise, he would destroy the situation that he had painstakingly built. Not to mention that the Emperor of Heaven had also appeared. With the help of the Grand Inferno Heavenly King, Xiao Yin, governing the Inferno continent will definitely be a lot smoother. Whether or not my sword can compete with Xiao Yin in a battle of wits and courage, I can learn some of the secrets of the gate Jin Heavenly King, Xiao Yin, from the Grand Inferno Heavenly King, Xiao Yin. Gu Chunsha walked through the streets and alleys of the Xin province, observing the local customs and practices. Although his current cultivation was unfathomable, he still lacked a few crucial things. First, he hadn't comprehended the divergent. Second, he hadn't ascended to the heavenly venerable realm. Third, he hadn't comprehended the Dragonless Heart Sutra. If he succeeded in all 3, he would be able to create an invincible divine ability and compete with the Emperor of Heaven. The gate Jin Heavenly King was hiding in the divine Central Plains. There are 99 prefectures in the divine Central Plains, which was actually quite vast. However, Gu Chunsha could say with certainty that this person was in the Xin province. Gu Chunsha could also calculate the gate Jin Heavenly King's current cultivation. He should have reached the Heavenly Longevity Realm. If he hadn't reached the Heavenly Longevity Realm, he definitely wouldn't have been able to hide from Gu Chunsha's calculations. It should be known that Gu Chunsha had come into contact with the primordial dragon gate and even absorbed its sins. He was very clear about the source of the gate. During cultivation, he could grasp this foundation and directly calculate the gate's secrets. The primordial old man and the great spirit god both lived in the primordial dragon gate. If the gate Jin Heavenly King has appeared, then it's very likely that he's also under the command of the gate Jin Heavenly King. If that's the case, the gate Jin Heavenly King's strength will be great. No wonder he wants to plot against the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Guqinsha. Guqinsha turned into a scholar and strolled around the Sin province city, once again observing for any signs of movement. The Lord of the Sun and Moon was a figure who stood above all in the heavenly court in the future. Unfortunately, the Lord of the Sun and Moon had changed. The Gate Jin Heavenly King's plot against Guqinsha was actually to extract the Lord of the Sun and Moon's source and refine it. He could even seal or destroy it to get rid of this heretic. Of course, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Guqinsha's source, was also extremely effective against Guqinsha. This child was the product of the entanglement between Gu Taxian and the heavenly Tao. He was also an existence that neither Gu Taxian nor the heavenly Tao had expected. It could be said that he was essentially detached from everything and might even compete with the Emperor of Heaven in the future. Guqinsha also wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to plot against this person. At the same time, Guqinsha wouldn't let him go. He wanted to devour and refine him at all times. Every move in the Sin province city is within my grasp. Even ants can't escape the pursuit of my divine will. The reincarnation cycle of a bird or a mouse is within my calculations, but I just can't find any trace of the Gate Jin Heavenly King. This matter has definitely been covered up by a secret technique. Guqinsha wandered around the Sin province city for 2 hours, but he still didn't find anything. He spread his divine will throughout the entire Sin province and the demonic realm, but he still couldn't find any trace of the Gate Jin Heavenly King. This matter has definitely been covered up by a secret technique. If that's the case, I'll settle for the next best thing. I'll look for the primeval elder and the great spirit god. I don't believe that you, the Gate Jin Heavenly King, can cover up this person's existence. Guqinsha simply moved. He immediately jumped into the space-time turbulence and shot out layers of light. As the light surged, a mirror was born from within. This mirror was all-encompassing. The past, present, and future were all contained within it. Not long after, a scene appeared in the mirror. It was the depths of an ancient starry sky. A huge barrier flickered as if it had existed since ancient times. In the depths of this barrier, many lousy and true gods from the primordial era were frozen like amber. Guqinsha had even suppressed the demonic realm. The divine kingdom of the god of Maha, known as the king of demons and the king of evil gods, as well as the demonic ape god of chaos, the serpent god of hell, the serpent god of Tunri, and other evil gods. Apart from the evil gods, there are also some righteous gods, such as the god of mountains and rivers, the god of war, the god of wine, the god of tea, the god of medicine, the god of thunder, the god of lightning, the god of sea, the god of dragon, the god of jade, the god of treasure, the god of fortune, and even the god of plagues, the god of plague, the god of calamity, and so on. The ancient heavenly kings had conferred the title of hundreds and thousands of true gods to make it easier for them to manage the world. However, this caused chaos in worship. There were many temples among the people, and the believers in the path of gods did not listen to the orders of the imperial court. Instead, they listened to the oracle. In the imperial court back then, the oracle of the great spirit god could even directly depose the emperor. After the heavenly talisman emperor was born, he directly sealed thousands of true gods, regardless of whether they were good or evil. What Guqinsha was currently seeing was this sealed place. It was in the ancient starry sky. From what he could see, the seal was actually starting to break. This was the influence of the heavenly Tao. The heavenly talisman emperor had also sealed the bottomless sea of sin. However, it was still broken by the heavenly Tao, which led to the arrival of the demon disaster. Fortunately, the calming immortal department had truly controlled the situation, which turned the demon disaster into a good thing. Kacha, the seal broke. One by one, the true gods came out of the seal and then disappeared. This was something that happened in the past. Now, Guqinsha could not do anything to stop it. When all the true gods came out of the seal, a huge door appeared and swallowed all the true gods into the door. The primordial dragon Sex, heavenly king of the school of Jin, took the opportunity to seal and capture many true gods. Good move. Gu Qinshan knew that the heavenly king of the school of Jin was indeed tyrannical. He was much stronger than the previous heavenly kings that had appeared. On the official WeChat account, I have updated the latest fist-suppressing mountains and rivers. Everyone can go to fist-suppressing mountains and rivers. Basically, there's a new update every day. Everyone can use WeChat to search for Mengri Shinji 1984. Announcement. This site recommends a free app. Say goodbye to all advertisements. Please follow the official WeChat account to download and install. App SID, press and hold for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 832. 1 second remember 09. To provide you with exciting reading. Chapter 829. True God breaking the seal. Many true gods broke the seal and entered the dragon gate of primitive desolation. Then they disappeared. This was the method of heavenly King Jin. Gu Qinsha couldn't help but say amazing. But out of the thousands of true gods, there were two that Gu Qinsha was worried about. One was God Maha, and the other was the chaotic demon God Ape. In the dream world, Gu Qinsha obtained the human transformation scripture from the chaotic demon God Ape. The chaotic demon God Ape actually comprehended the highest theory of turning everything into a human and was able to turn the monster race into a human. Not a human, but a human form. When the monster race reached the heavenly phenomenon of heaven and earth, they could completely transform their bodies into humans. But that was just their outer appearance. Their inner nature was still that of a demon. Even if the monster race became a god, a saint, or even a celestial lord, they would still be demons. They wouldn't be able to have human nature. However, the demonic ape of chaos actually broke through this unprecedented rule and was able to transform the demon race into a human being. It could be seen that this ape was extremely intelligent. In the unseen world, it had a supreme and invincible destiny. Moreover, Gu Qinshan knew about the future. After the heaven court was built, the chaotic demon god Ape's cultivation would increase, and he would have a fortuitous encounter. In the end, he would unify the monster race and become the true ruler of billions of monster race. His cultivation would exceed heaven kings. In the distant future, the chaotic demon god Ape would actually attack the heaven court and try to snatch the position of Emperor Heaven. The war dragged on for many years, and after many years, the chaotic demon god Ape was suppressed. This was the history of the future. Of course, the present had changed, and the future probably wouldn't exist anymore. But Gu Qinshan knew that the chaotic demon god Ape had huge potential. In the chaotic era, when the heaven court was built, he would be able to obtain huge benefits. In the future, he would be able to lead the monster race to fight against the heaven court. Now, that Heaven King Jin had gotten this ape, it was like adding wings to a tiger. As for God Mahakasepa, after the heavenly court was established in the future, he would also become a vassal and the true ruler of the devil world. These were all calculations in the distant future. Only Gu Qinsha could see so far ahead. Even the heavenly kings of Jin and the Sun Moon Lords might not be able to calculate this. I killed the demonic ape of chaos in the dream world because he didn't have a fortuitous encounter. In the real world, the demonic ape of chaos is sealed. Now that he's out, his cultivation will probably improve by leaps and bounds. Gu Qinsha stopped calculating. The heavenly king of Jin has formed another powerful force. Heavenly King Jin himself, the prehistoric old man, the great spirit god, and thousands of true gods. They also contacted the great burning heavenly king and even poached people from the Sun Moon Lord Gu Qinsha's faction. They instigated the rebellion of many great thousand world lords, and all of them were heavenly venerables. In this way, even I can't easily suppress it. If it was just the heavenly king of Jin, Gu Qinsha could suppress it. It wouldn't matter even if he had the prehistoric Dragon Gate, a heaven primordial realm treasure. But with thousands of true gods, it was a completely different story. The sacrificial power of a true god was extremely pure and terrifying. It wasn't any weaker than a heavenly venerables. Since ancient times, there hadn't been any big shots that allowed a true god to worship themselves. Usually, it was the true gods who spread their faith and let the people worship themselves. The true gods only worshipped the heavenly Tao and the Emperor of Heaven. The reason why the Celestial Tranquility Department was so ferocious and its sacrificial power was so vast was because of the four heavenly venerables: Chong Wei-yong, the martial sage, the king of common life, and Dou-yu. There is also the longevity god, who controlled the three true god positions. His sacrificial power was boundless, like a heavenly waterfall, sparkling and sparkling. It contained some exquisite spirit force that even sages didn't have. Its quality wasn't inferior to a heavenly venerables. Other than that, the Celestial Tranquility Department also had the gods of the 5 seasons. Their sacrificial power was also a great supplement to the little Hongmeng tree. Emperor Father sealed many true gods and evil gods. They were all conferred by the ancient heavenly sons and possessed the true god positions. I've calculated that there are close to 3,000 of them. If I can obtain the loyalty of all these true gods and obtain their sacrificial power, I'll be able to break through the layers of obstacles and become a heavenly venerable in a short time. Gu Qinsha thought, and after the gate Jin Heavenly King obtained these true gods, he would worship them in the raging desolate Dragon Gate. Not only would the raging desolate Dragon Gate recover all its strength, but it would also evolve and become even more powerful. It would be difficult for me to suppress it. Luckily, I've subdued the Punisher Heavenly King. The purity and grandeur of his sacrificial power is above that of a true god. It's just that Gu Xingjian's strength is still a little weak. If he was at the Heaven Longevity realm, like the Grand Infernal Heavenly King, the sacrificial power I obtained would increase by 1,000 times. Gu Xingjian had just been born and was modified by Gu Qinsha, becoming a deity expert. However, compared to a heavenly venerable or heaven longevity realm expert, the difference was like heaven and earth. It seems like the gate Jin Heavenly King isn't that easy to subdue. Above the gate Jin Heavenly King is the Wisdom Heavenly King. This Heavenly King is even more powerful. If he comes out and colludes with the gate Jin Heavenly King to welcome the Emperor of Heaven, then I'll be in real danger. Gu Qinsha felt the impending danger. His spirit flickered, wanting to find a foolproof plan. In the ancient starry sky, huge ancient stars rotated, drawing out eternal trajectories in space. Every single one of these ancient stars was a huge world. Some of them were slightly smaller, they were medium-sized worlds, and some were boundless worlds. However, they were different from other worlds. Every single one of them was surging with star power. They were affected by the origin of the heaven realm, and they splashed light, heat, and various types of energy onto the earth and the infinite space. In the depths of the densely packed starry sky, a door was faintly discernible without any aura. This was the raging, desolate Dragon Gate. In the depths of the raging, desolate Dragon Gate, there were thousands of true gods who had been conferred the title of true gods since ancient times. These true gods all revolved around a youth at the core of the Dragon Gate. This youth had an ordinary appearance. If he was thrown into a crowd, it would be impossible to pick him out. There was nothing special about him. He was extremely ordinary. However, when the thousands of true gods saw this youth, they all looked at him with reverence and didn't dare to act rashly. Even God Maha didn't show any signs of resistance. The chaotic demonic ape had the appearance of a Confucian scholar. There was no demonic chi on him, but his every move was respected by many monster gods. Even the sun-devouring Bash, the hell serpent, the wolf god, the tiger god, and the others considered him the backbone. However, the chaotic demonic ape was also willing to listen to this youth's orders. Clearly, this ordinary youth was the gate Jin Heavenly King, the person who would control the heavenly court's door in the future. Everyone, the world has changed. I didn't save you, but the heavenly Tao broke Gu Taxian seal. I found an opportunity to bring you out. The gate Jin Heavenly King said, The Great Spirit God. Am I right? Yes. The Great Spirit God also sat on the throne of a true God. He appeared very obedient, and Old Man Desolation sat next to him. I didn't expect the world's greatest tribulation to begin. The age of chaos will eventually end, and the myriad worlds and countless multiverses will welcome order. God Maha said, Lord Heavenly King of Jin, your appearance means that the Celestial Arch is about to appear. We're willing to submit to the Celestial Arch and establish great merits. That's what I think too, the chaotic demonic ape said. Damn the Celestial Tranquility Department. They actually caused the descendants of my lay family to fall. I swear I'm not a true god if I don't destroy the Celestial Tranquility Department. The Thunder God flew into a rage, causing countless lightning bolts to explode around him. The Thunder God's descendants were originally from the 10th Prince Gu Jinsha's faction. However, they later disrespected the regal emperor's golden token, causing the two brothers, Thunder Extreme Source and Thunder Extreme Blood, to kneel in the palace square. After the Celestial Tranquility Department repeatedly attacked the Lei family, the Lei family was completely destroyed and lost its former glory. The Celestial Tranquility Department didn't want to go overboard. Otherwise, the Lei family would have been destroyed long ago. Our Hong family has also been suppressed to the point of losing its destiny. A true god surrounded by black water said. He was the Black Sovereign, also known as the Water God. His family was the Hong family. The 18th Prince Gu Hongsha was the result of the marriage between the Hong family and the Gu family. You are all true gods now. Good or evil, you can't fight anymore. The Celestial Tranquility Department's ordinary youth said, You have committed many sins in the past, but the new era has come. If you can help establish the heavenly court and gain merit in front of the Emperor Heaven, you will benefit greatly in the future. Don't you agree, Great Blazing Heavenly King? At this time, Great Blazing Heavenly King Shao Yin appeared beside the Celestial Tranquility Department. We must unite under the command of the Emperor Heaven. Great Blazing Heavenly King Shao Yin glanced at the nearly 3,000 sealed true gods and smiled. I, Great Blazing Heavenly King, Jin Heavenly King, Innocuous Heavenly King, Calamity Heavenly King, and Punisher Heavenly King have all come out. We will join forces and form the embryonic form of the Heavenly Court. We will sweep across the world, and the Celestial Tranquility Department won't be able to withstand a single blow. Of course, after that, Wisdom Heavenly King, Donghua Heavenly King, Grand Overarching Heavenly King, and Chaotic Heavenly King will appear one by one. Heavenly Kings, the chaotic, demonic ape god said. The Celestial Tranquility Department isn't that easy to deal with. I think we need to discuss this in detail. Of course, the Celestial Tranquility Department isn't easy to deal with. However, other than that Gu Taxian, Gu Chansha is a bit more troublesome, but he's still within our control. The Celestial Tranquility Department's ordinary youth said, To tell you the truth, my current identity is a middle-level member of the Celestial Tranquility Department. I have a lot of authority, but that Gu Chansha can't find me and doesn't know who I am. In other words, this kid cultivation is also extremely limited. Under the Heavenly Tao's blindfold, he can't see the situation clearly, and in the future, he will be nothing more than a pie in the sky. Not only that, I've received some information from the unseen. The reincarnated person of the Emperor Heaven is also in the Celestial Tranquility Department. The Celestial Tranquility Department may seem as stable as a rock to you, but in my opinion, it's riddled with holes and can't withstand a single blow. It's just that the time hasn't come yet. Mobile users, please browse M. Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 833. I didn't expect the Emperor of Heaven to be in the Celestial Appeasement Department. God Maha's current appearance was that of a middle-aged man with a black beard and a dignified appearance. He looked just like a governor in the bureaucracy. No one would have guessed that he was the king of the ancient gods, the former lord of the devil domain. His gaze flickered upon hearing Heavenly King Jin's words, but he didn't ask any further. I have to admit that the Celestial Appeasement Department is powerful. I've been infiltrating the department and working under a different name these days. I can feel that their ideology is very bewitching, so we can't underestimate them. Heavenly Monarch Jin's tone changed. I can rely on my means to hide now, but once Gu Chansha becomes a heavenly venerable, it will be hard for me to hide, and he will definitely find out. However, it's almost impossible for him to become a heavenly venerable. Still, we should be careful. God Maha, you can't spread the news that the Emperor of Heaven's reincarnation is in the Celestial Appeasement Department. I understand. God Maha nodded. He wasn't angry. He was very shrewd, and no one knew what he was thinking in the depths of his heart. The Great Spirit God, I know you're good at scheming and ambitious. Heavenly King Jin said to the Great Spirit God, also, those who work with you will be killed by you. But let me tell you now, the Emperor of Heaven's rebirth and the Celestial Court's establishment are irresistible trends. If you have second thoughts, you'll live a life worse than death in the future. If you work for the Celestial Court wholeheartedly, you'll naturally be able to get rid of your sins and enjoy the beautiful days ahead. This subordinate understands. The Great Spirit God's expression immediately turned serious. He actually called himself a subordinate, which was a bit subservient compared to God Maha. God Maha addressed himself as I in front of an ordinary youth, like Heavenly King Jin. It was clear that he didn't consider himself a subordinate. This series of details indicated a subtle relationship. Lord Heavenly King of Jin, I wonder where Heavenly King Chaos, Heavenly King Daluo, Heavenly King Donghua, and Heavenly King Wisdom are? Now that the gods have gathered, we've become a powerful force. But if we want to support the Emperor of Heaven, it's still not enough. Old Man Desolation spoke up. I also heard that the Lord of the Four Wilds has appeared. He's actually teaming up with Patriarch Heaven and Earth and the others to form some sort of huge alliance. Should we subdue this alliance? Otherwise, if we fight to the death with the Tranquil Immortal Department, they will come out and take advantage of us. If that happens, I'm afraid we'll also suffer heavy losses. Indeed, this matter needs to be resolved as soon as possible. Since you've brought it up, you'll be the messenger to negotiate with Ancestor Heaven and Earth's alliance. Ask them to submit to me, and if they don't, I'll kill them with the force of a thunderbolt. Heavenly King Jin, the ordinary-looking youth, sneered. I already know the situation of this alliance. Everyone has their own agenda. Immortal Master Wan is relying on the recognition of the immortal world's origin to become the future master of the immortal world. Unfortunately, in the future, the master of the immortal world will be someone else, not him. Everything he's done is futile. After a while, the essence of the immortal world won't care for him anymore. When that time comes, he'll be like a tiger without claws and fangs. He won't be a threat. That said, he's a heaven longevity realm primal chaos paleo creature. If he's willing to submit to me as a watchdog and offer sacrifices and faith, I'll keep him safe. As for the immortal lord, she has the systems of the ancient civilization, which is a priceless treasure. Back in the day, the ancient civilization had wanted to rebel and replace the Tao of Heaven. Although it was wishful thinking, the systems of the one God were truly powerful. Although the immortal lord couldn't unleash even 1/10,000th of its power, if Gu Chansha got his hands on it, he would be in danger of toppling the cosmos. As for the others, that's not important. The Lord of the Four Wilds will eventually be influenced by the essence, and will definitely side with the Heavenly Court. I'll go right now, Yang Qi said. Old Man Yorwilds knew that this was the time to perform a great service for the Heavenly Court, and he couldn't hesitate. Everything he did now was to pave the way for the future. The more he did now, the more credit he would receive in the future, and the greater his accomplishments would be. The Heavenly Court wouldn't bury his contributions. Inside, Old Man Yorwilds was thinking, these people are really short-sighted. They all have ulterior motives. If I'm loyal to the Heavenly Court, I'll definitely succeed. The age of chaos is coming to an end, and it's time to seize the opportunity to make a contribution. If I'm half-hearted, I won't get any benefits in the future, and I'll die a horrible death. The heavenly court is very clear about rewards and punishments, and they won't tolerate a grain of sand in their eyes. As he was thinking, Old Man Yorwild's glanced at him with a sneer. The Great Spirit God thinks he's smart, but he's not trusted by Heavenly King Gene anymore. That said, no organization would trust a two-faced traitor like him. I'm going to get rid of him as soon as he's done with his grinding. Good. Heavenly King Gene was very pleased with Old Man Yorwild's. As expected of someone born in the Yorwild's Dragon Gate. I'm in charge of the Yorwild's Dragon Gate, and you're its son, which means you're also my son. As long as you convince those people, you'll be rewarded greatly in the future. Yes, sir. Old Man Yorwild's bowed a few times, then sent some sacrificial power into the core of the Yorwild's Dragon Gate. Everyone, let's start the sacrificial ceremony. The true gods of the Heavenly King Field said, since you've pledged your allegiance to the Heavenly Court, show your sincerity. Send the sacrificial power into the Yorwild's Dragon Gate. Not only will you brand your loyalty, but you'll also be contributing to the Heavenly Court. I'm now a member of the Heavenly Court. I'll protect the Emperor Heaven Emperor even if I have to die 1,000 times. At that moment, the Thunder God expressed his stance. He continuously offered sacrifices, and a huge wave of pure sacrificial power rushed into the core of the Yorwild's Dragon Gate, nourishing it greatly. After that, the Water God, the Dragon God, the Sea God, and the other mountain and river gods also started offering sacrifices. With this, the interior of the Yorwild's Dragon Gate immediately started operating violently. A huge roar was heard, and the Heavenly King Gene instantly obtained great benefits. Waves of life and death energy were born in the depths of the Yorwild's Dragon Gate. So many true gods started offering sacrifices. It was a scene that had never been seen before in history. This time, the Heavenly King Gene obtained great benefits. The great burning Heavenly King, Xiao Yin, was a little jealous. However, he had no choice. He was the last of the 9 Heavenly Kings, and he was the weakest. Moreover, he hadn't obtained the treasure that made him famous. In the future Heavenly Court, the great burning Heavenly King, Xiao Yin, would be the Heavenly King who controlled the cleansing flame of the Heaven Realm. However, the cleansing flame of the Heaven Realm hadn't appeared yet. Xiao Yin didn't know what had happened. Even he couldn't sense where the treasure was. This wasn't normal. God Maha and the chaotic demon Ape God hesitated for a moment, but they also joined the sacrificial ceremony. They had no choice but to lower their heads. Even if they had once dominated the world, they still weren't strong enough to deal with a heavenly king. Under the worship of nearly 3,000 true gods, the Yorwild's Dragon Gate completely disappeared. No one could predict or capture it. The Heavenly King Jin's power was gradually increasing. Chaos Old Man came out and landed on the eastern wastelands. Suddenly, his body shook. He felt a wave of energy breaking through the air and pouring into his body. Within his body, a trace of the boundless universe force was vaguely born. Ha! The Yorwild's Dragon Gate is my mother. Now that it has received the worship of the 3,000 true gods, it has completely recovered its strength and grown tremendously. This way, my strength will rise along with the tide, and it will lay the foundation for me to break through to the heavenly Yuan realm in the future. Among so many people, I'm equivalent to the heavenly King Jin's son. He trusts me the most. Chaos Old Man was wild with joy. Congratulations, congratulations. Just as Chaos Old Man was about to complete his mission and convince those from the Black Heaven Earth sect, a voice was heard. Who is it? Chaos Old Man was shocked. He turned his head and found another person beside him. This person had the appearance of a young man. He looked very delicate, but there was an endless majesty in his actions. He was many times more dignified than the heavenly King Jin. Gu. Chaos Old Man spat out a few words with great difficulty. Gu Qinsha. That's right, this delicate young man was Gu Qinsha. Even though Chaos Old Man had already touched the heavenly Yuan realm, Chunsha was still trembling. A huge fear shrouded him. How did you find me? The heavenly King Jin collected many sealed, true gods. If I didn't know about such a big matter, I would have been waiting for death. Gu Qinsha smiled. Chaos, old man, you're a miracle. You've been with the great spirit god for so long, but you haven't been devoured by him. Now, you've boarded a pirate ship. You think the heavenly court will be the future ruler. That's the wrong choice. Gu Qinsha, what do you want? Chaos old man knew he couldn't deal with the aftermath. He felt despair when facing Gu Qinsha. He used a secret technique to communicate with the heavenly King Jin, but it was useless. He couldn't communicate with the heavenly King Jin at all. It was obvious that Gu Qinsha had cut off all communication, leaving him alone and helpless. Go! Chaos old man soared into the sky and tried to leave, but he found that he couldn't move at all. All methods were childish and laughable in front of Gu Qinsha. Hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 834. You can actually break through Heavenly Monarch Jin's heaven-reversing technique and divine my whereabouts. Sounds of heaven. Old man Primeval's mind raced as he tried to think of a way to make a last stand. If I can't even guess Heavenly Monarch Jin's heaven-reversing technique, how can I compete with Emperor Heaven of Heaven? I might as well kill myself. Heavenly Monarch Jin has the primeval Dragon Gate and has some tricks up his sleeve, but he still has Heavenly Monarch Wisdom, Heavenly Monarch Donghua, Heavenly Monarch Absolute, and Heavenly Monarch Primal Chaos. Let's not talk about that. The Master of the Sun and Moon is at a disadvantage against me. Gu Qinsha seemed to have seen through old man Primeval's thoughts. Stop struggling. Submit to me and change the ritual, and I can spare your life. After all, someone like you has comprehended the great thousand force of heaven origin. The power you obtain from the ritual will be very beneficial to me. Gu Qinsha's Celestial Calmness Bureau only had 4 celestial sovereigns. None of them were at the Heaven Longevity Realm. Xing Qiongshi was at the Heaven Longevity Realm, but after refining the Divine Landgord, his consciousness was completely sealed and he couldn't use the ritual. If Old Man Primeval was captured and reformed, the power of the ritual would be unimaginable with his peak Heaven Longevity Realm cultivation. In Gu Qinsha's eyes, he was like a hen laying golden eggs. He had to be captured. Right now, Gu Qinsha was getting stronger and stronger because the Divine Landgord had absorbed a total of 20 endless treasures. It was extremely terrifying. With every additional endless treasure, its power would increase exponentially. With 20 endless treasures gathered, its power had already surpassed the desolate dragon sect. There were still 16 endless treasures outside. Gu Qinsha was determined to collect them all. He sent Do EU to infiltrate the World Ancestor Alliance to subdue the Endless Heart. Once it was subdued, he would be able to find the whereabouts of the other endless treasures. As for Gu Tanjian and Gu Changjian's Infinity Sword and Infinity Saber, Gu Qinsha had a plan to deal with them. The two couldn't escape his grasp. Gu Qinsha, you are delusional. Right at this moment, Old Man Desolation exploded. With a move of his body, his entire body transformed into millions of dragons that fled in all directions. In the center of these dragons, a bolt of divine lightning appeared. This divine lightning was similar to the desolate thousand dragon lightning, but its might was far inferior to the desolate dragon sect's desolate thousand dragon lightning. Of course, this was Old Man Desolation's strongest move. You want to show off such insignificant skills before me? Do you know that if I were to use the primal desolate universe sacred lightning now, even the primal desolate dragon sect would be inferior to me? A smile appeared on Gu Qinsha's face, and the Divine Landgord appeared above his head. The vortex of the Divine Landgord swept out slightly, and the lightning was immediately sucked into the gourd. Then, even the billions of dragons formed by Old Man Desolation were sucked into the gourd. This gourd could almost swallow the heavens. How can you be so strong? Old Man Desolation felt as if the entire world had been sucked into the gourd. and he himself had fallen into the divine land gourd. His body returned to its origin, and he saw the true divine land, the perfect divine land. Gu Chensha had created a brand new divine land within the divine land gourd, and he had named it the true divine land, or the ideal divine land, the perfect divine land. Now, Old Man Desolation had been sucked into the divine land gourd, and he had landed at the center of the true divine land, in the imperial palace at the center of the Sin province. The Sin province of the true divine land was where the capital city was, and there was no demonic domain. Moreover, the center of the true divine land was not called the Sin province, but the central province by Gu Chensha. This was the true center of the myriad worlds, the center of the heavenly realm, and the center of time and space. At this moment, Old Man Desolation landed in the imperial palace. He raised his head and saw a huge throne at the top of the palace. The aura coming from it was close to the heavenly Tao, and it was almost invincible. Sitting on the throne was Gu Chensha. You, Old Man Desolation, was shocked. You secretly forged the Emperor of Heaven throne? You want to be Emperor of Heaven yourself? Aren't you afraid of retribution for your perverse actions? How laughable. Kings, marquises, generals, and ministers all have guts. The Emperor of Heaven is the same. The Emperor of Heaven throne belongs to the virtuous, and whoever can lead all living beings to a better place will be Emperor of Heaven. I've long since seen through the future heavenly court. To be honest, the structure of the future heavenly court is just to enslave all living beings, and there's nothing new about it. Gu Chensha looked down at Old Man Desolation from high above, and his eyes flickered. Kneel. Our Old Man Desolation let out a world-shaking roar, but it was useless. He could not use any magic, and he knelt down stiffly. Gu Chensha, I'm an ancient expert who has dominated for who knows how many tens of thousands of years. If you want to kill me, just kill me. Why must you humiliate me like this? Old Man Desolation roared. I'll ask you again, do you submit or not? Gu Chensha asked again. Submit to me, offer sacrifices to me, work for me, erase your sins, and become a member of the calming immortal department. If you're not willing, I don't have so many things to tangle with you. I'll just refine you and turn you into my puppet. Your pet Northchun has already been refined by me into the king of common life. I'll refine you into the emperor of common life, and I can still use you. I'd rather die than submit, Old Man Desolation said with a cold smile. Gu Chensha, do you think I'm a great spirit god? Treacherous, double-dealing. Shameless. When have I ever submitted to anyone? I couldn't tell, but you have a backbone. Gu Chensha looked at Old Man Desolation coldly. Since that's the case, don't blame me for being cruel. Do you really think I can't do anything to you? It doesn't matter if you refine me into some emperor of common life. The sacrificial power of the new emperor of common life is far inferior to mine. After all, it has lost some spirituality. If you had directly subdued the Northchun Emperor back then, your sacrificial power would definitely be much higher than the king of common life. Old Man Desolation said, It seems like you think you've submitted to the Jin sect heavenly king. Can you live forever? You've placed your hopes on the future heavenly court. Do you think that even if you die now, you'll still be loyal to the heavenly court? That you'll definitely achieve great things in the future? Gu Chensha could practically see through Old Man Desolation's thoughts. The reason why he was so fearless and stubborn was because he had made up his mind. Oomph. The great Desolation Old Man snorted coldly. Gu Chensha, use whatever abilities you have. Right now, I don't care if you kill me or cut me up. Even if you turn my bones to dust, I don't care. I want to see what new tricks you can come up with to make me submit completely. That's good. The hearts of all living beings are stubborn, but I have the determination to gather all living beings together to create an ideal world. If I can't subdue you, then it will be considered a failure. Gu Chensha said, You are the will that was born from the primordial dragon sect. Once I subdue you, I can find a weakness of the primordial dragon sect and grab this thread of karma to suppress the Jin sect heavenly king. Wang, while Gu Chensha was speaking, 360 more common people's generals appeared in the hall. The current common people's generals were all at Saint Realm, which meant that they had reached the Tao Realm Truth Saint Heart level. Only with such strong cultivation could they manage so many things in the Godland, causing the Godland and the giant Yonko to become more and more stable. The common people's generals were created by Guchen Sha, and they broke free from the fate of being puppets. They had their own lives and were now true people. Moreover, they had many things that experts couldn't compare to. Each common people's commander was just and strict. They were loved by the people, and as time went on, they accumulated huge support and hearts of the people. Why did you summon these common people's generals? Do you think that they can deal with me? Old Man Desolation said in disdain. Look, these great generals of the common people govern the world, and even if it's a small dispute among the people, the great generals of the common people can handle it perfectly, so they are the hearts of the people. Logically speaking, the hearts of the people on them can long condense into the great position of true God. Guchen Sha didn't care about what Old Man Desolation said and muttered to himself, "Let me show you how I can fight with the Emperor of Heaven." God position form. When on the bodies of the 360 common people's generals, there was a light and energy formed from the hearts of the people. These things were really precious and even contained supreme secrets. In the past, if an official had 1,000th of these people's hearts after he died, his soul wouldn't be destroyed and he would become a small god. Of course, this small god wouldn't be conferred a title by the emperor, but he would be protected by the imperial court and would have some luck. And now, any one of the 360 great marshals of common people, the reputation and hearts of the people they obtained far surpassed any of the great and bold emperors in history, even the ancient heavenly sons. Guchen Sha grabbed onto Old Man Desolation and used him as motivation to forcefully activate and complete the strongest change. "You? What are you doing?" Old Man Desolation panicked. You actually want to create a true God position out of thin air? You're truly going against the heavens. You've already gone mad. You can't succeed. The true God position requires the Emperor of Heaven to gather faith and use the Emperor's Qi to enter the Heaven Sacrifice Talisman and offer it to the Heavenly Tao. Only then will the Heavenly Tao form a true God position. If you do this now, not only will you incur endless sin, it will also be impossible for you to form a true God position. Just what are you thinking? Old Man Desolation felt a sense of danger. Don't forget, I have half of the Heaven Sacrifice Talisman. I just didn't use it. Of course, I won't use the Yonko-S Emperor's Qi, which is the nation's fate, to sacrifice it to the Heavenly Tao. However, I have the Heaven Stealing Technique. Through the Heaven Sacrifice Talisman, I can steal the Heavenly Tao's power to form a true God position for my 360 common people's generals. You're a sinner who has to bear the wrath of the Heavenly Tao. To the Heavenly Tao, you're stealing. Think about the consequences, Guchen Sha said. Chapter 835. Guchen Sha can actually create a deity seat. In the eyes of an antique like the Great Desolation Patriarch, this was absolutely inconceivable. At the very least, this was the power of the Heavenly Taos, the Emperor of Heaven. Even if experts were to appear in large numbers, the Great Desolation Old Man could still be considered an absolute expert. Other than a few people who came from the future heavenly court, he stood at the peak of this world. Therefore, his vision and cultivation were definitely not devalued. Currently, the number one expert in the universe was Guchen Sha. In second place were the Heavenly Kings and the Lord of the Four Desolates. Of course, now that Jingxiu and Guhua were Heavenly Kings, as well as the Lord of the Desolate Desert and the Lord of the Desolate Sea, their strength naturally surpassed that of the prehistoric Old Man. The third tier was the primeval Old Man, Wan Senshi, the three Empyreans, the Great Spirit God, the Immortal Lord, and other Heavenly Longevity Realm old-timers. The fourth tier consisted of some Empyreans. As for those below the Empyrean level, as the Great Tribulation approached, there would be more and more of them. The great desolation old man had condensed a strand of the great chiliocosm in his body. In the future, it was very likely that he would break through to the heaven origin realm, which would allow him to rise to the second tier. You are actually so vicious. Old man Desolation's face twisted. He knew that what Gu Chunsha said was true. Even if the heavenly court was established in the future, he would not benefit at all. Instead, he would be a sinner. It was a dead end either way, and it was the kind of death where there was no hope at all. Your only way out now is to rely on me, worship my Tao, and abandon your dreams of becoming a heavenly king of Jin, Gu Chunsha said. Only then will you have a chance of survival. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. After saying that, Gu Chunsha grabbed again. Instantly, the wind and clouds surged. Endless power was extracted from the depths of the divine land gourd. The deity positions of the 360 saint-level commanders of common people became clearer and clearer. Of course, the waves of sins and tribulations also condensed into physical form. Originally, they should have been directed at Gu Chunsha and the 360 saint-level great marshals of common people. But now, these tribulations and sins were gathered above Elder Primordial Chaos's head, as if they would descend at any moment. I'm willing to submit. In the blink of an eye, Old Man Desolation continued to calculate. Finally, he sighed and said, I am willing to submit to immortal tranquility and change my sacrifice. However, I have already offered sacrifices to the raging desolate dragon sect. If I offer sacrifices to the calming immortal department, the raging desolate dragon sect and the school Jin Heavenly King will immediately appear. Don't worry, they won. If I can't do on my eye, the king will. I don't talk nonsense. Let's worship first. Gu Chunsha sneered. Yes. At this moment, the great desolation old man had no other choice. He could only prostrate himself, change his mind, and start offering sacrifices to Gu Chunsha. Buzz, another wave of sacrificial energy erupted from his body. This was the power of a peak heaven longevity realm old-timer, a power that could change the heavens and change the earth. Even when the ancient son of heaven was at his peak, there weren't any heavenly longevity realm old fogies that submitted to him. Not to mention the heavenly longevity realm, there weren't even any Empyreans. Therefore, this sacrificial power was extremely beneficial to Gu Chunsha. Rumble. The sacrificial power was like a heavenly waterfall, surging endlessly. After landing on Gu Chunsha's body, it suddenly changed, sucking in and out, and then drilling into the depths of the void. The sacrificial power has returned to the great desolate dragon gate. Old Man Desolation was shocked. But you did something to the sacrificial power. That's right. Gu Chunsha snapped his fingers. You offered sacrifices to me. After I used a supreme technique to condense the sacrificial power, I seized the opportunity and sent it into the great desolate dragon gate. You didn't betray me at all. Also, after I condensed the sacrificial power, I hid it in the depths of the great desolate dragon gate. Not only can I find the location of the great desolate dragon gate, but I can also use it to slowly infiltrate the great desolate dragon gate. So that's your plan. Old Man Desolation's face was full of bitterness. If you take the great desolate dragon gate, you'll become even more powerful, and I'll become a true enemy of the heavenly court. Enemy. Gu Chunsha flicked his fingers again, and the tribulation floating above Old Man Desolation's head began to change. It turned in a multicolored light and entered Old Man Desolation's body. Suddenly, Old Man Desolation's universe power increased by a bit, and his cultivation increased again. He was getting closer and closer to the heaven origin realm. I can turn the tribulations of the heavenly Tao into merit. You should already know that. Back in the depths of the great desolate dragon gate, I also turned the sins of the great desolation dragon gate into merit. Now that you've pledged allegiance to me and started offering sacrifices, I naturally have to give you some benefits. Since you've offered sacrifices to me and turned the sins of the heavenly Tao into merit, there's no turning back. I'm sure you know that. Now, I'll give you a mission. Go to the Black Heaven Earth Sex Alliance and secretly pledge allegiance to someone. That's how you'll offer sacrifices to her, said Guchen Sha. Who? Old Man Desolation didn't know what kind of huge plan Guchen Sha was planning. Wu Dankong. Guchen's eyes sharpened. This woman has the heavenly sacrifice decree. In the future heavenly court, she'll be an extremely powerful character. If my guess is correct, she should be an important concubine under the Emperor Heaven of the future heavenly court. She should be awakening some kind of ability now. Since that's the case, I'll just follow your orders. Old Man Desolation grew more and more afraid of Guchen Sha. He knew that if he didn't listen to Guchen's orders, he would be unable to live or die. He would have to endure the most unbearable pain, and he would never be able to escape. Go! With a wave of his hand, Guchen Sha sent Old Man Desolation out of the Divine Land Gourd. In the next moment, Old Man Desolation arrived in the eastern wasteland. His body shivered. He didn't have any thoughts of betrayal. If betrayal was so easy, the calming immortal department wouldn't have become the heavenly court's greatest enemy. Old Man Desolation understood that as long as he betrayed Qin Wentian, he would die without a burial. To think that I'd become a chess piece. I was born from the Dragon Gate of the Desolation era and roamed the ancient times. Even the ancestor of all demons, the North Star Emperor, was my pet. But now, I'm in such a miserable state. I have no choice. Could it be that the heavenly mandate isn't on my side? Old Man Desolation's heart was filled with sorrow, but he knew that it was useless. Only by completing the mission given to him by Guchen Sha could he live. Within the Black Heaven and Earth Gate, Wu Dankong occupied a palace for herself. She was bitterly cultivating. Her current cultivation realm was also at the peak of the Sage Realm. She wanted to break through to the Heavenly Sovereign Realm, but she couldn't. Since ancient times, the one who holds the Heavenly Sacrifice Decree is the Son of Heaven. The Son of Heaven is at the peak of the Sage Realm. No Heavenly Sovereign has ever obtained the Heavenly Sacrifice Decree. If I become a Heavenly Sovereign, I'll be able to control the decree and obtain great benefits. Wu Dankong bitterly cultivated. Congratulations, Concubine Ming. You're about to cultivate to the Heavenly Sovereign Realm. A voice rang out. Who? Wu Dankong's eyes turned in the direction of the voice, and he saw a shadow appear. It was none other than Old Man Desolation. You? How did you get in? The mystical gate of heaven and earth is sealed with layers of restrictive spells. How did you sneak in? Wu Dankong frowned. Although Old Man Desolation was an ancient hegemon, Wu Dankong had the heavenly sacrifice decree and the boundless heart. She wasn't afraid of him at all. The school, Jin Heavenly King, has already appeared and gained control of the Your Desolate Dragon sect. I'm now his subordinate. He has already unsealed all the gods sealed by the Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor and brought them into the Your Desolate Dragon sect. I'm here today to send my regards to Concubine Ming on behalf of the school, Jin Heavenly King. Old Man Desolation spoke according to Guchen's intentions. The school, Jin Heavenly King, has appeared, and he even took in a sealed true god as his subordinate. Wu Dankong was shocked. After that, her expression turned frosty. Don't call me Concubine Ming. In Wu Dankong's eyes, Concubine Ming was an extremely humiliating title. She was forcibly brought into the harem by the Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor. Originally, she wanted to make a name for herself. Unfortunately, she encountered the calming Immortal Bureau and was suppressed to the point where she couldn't even speak. Now, her reputation among the common people was extremely bad. I'm not calling you Concubine Ming of the Yonko, but the future Concubine Ming of the Heavenly Court, the concubine of the Emperor Heaven of Heaven. Old Man Desolation calmly said, otherwise, why would the heavenly sacrifice decree fall into your hands? And why would the Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor, Gu Taxian, force you to enter the harem? Could it be that the concubine still doesn't understand her position? What? Wu Dankong abruptly stood up. What did you say? Say it again. The concubine has already heard it clearly. Why do I have to say it again? Old Man Desolation stood respectfully. Wu Dangkong was silent for a long time. After thinking for a long time, she said, "Old Man Desolation, what do you want to do? I already understand my own identity. Naturally, I want to join the concubine and wait for the birth of the Emperor Heaven of Heaven. He will establish the future heavenly court and reorganize the order of the myriad worlds. In the future, the concubine will definitely hold great power and glory. Following the concubine is better than following the school, Gene Heavenly King." Old Man Desolation said, "What do you think, concubine?" Old Man Desolation, you're in the heavenly longevity realm. If I don't have you, I'll have the power of the great Kiliacosm brewing in my body. If you join me, I'll be like a tiger with wings. But how can I trust you? Unless Wu Dangkong wasn't a fool. She definitely couldn't trust Old Man Desolation. Unless I offer sacrifices to the concubine. Old Man Desolation said, "The heavenly sacrificial talisman in the Empress's hands is a good thing, but it's a pity that you need to control a huge amount of sacrificial power to activate its destructive power. Furthermore, the Empress doesn't have her own empire yet, so she can't unleash the talisman's greatest power." This site recommends pictures and videos of beautiful legs and stockings, youthful cheeks, and plump buttocks online. Quickly follow the official WeChat account. Maimdo1. Long press for 3 seconds to copy, to watch. Chapter 836. That's right. I don't have my own empire, so I can't use the power of the sacrifice. However, there's one more thing you need to understand. The sacrificial power required for this heavenly sacrifice decree is extremely pure. Even if I control a greater thousand realms, such as the Xinhuang greater thousand realms, control the living beings within, and then sacrifice them, it won't be of much use. The purity won't be enough. Only by controlling the divine central continent will I be able to fully activate the heavenly sacrifice decree and activate its wondrous arts. It wasn't that Wu Dangkong didn't want to establish an empire. Given her current cultivation base and foundation, she could occupy a place in the celestial realms. For example, she could incinerate the lands of the 7 continents, gather humans, and educate them. Slowly but surely, she would gain immense faith, just like Jing Qiu had done with the Holy Sama Empire in the desolate wastes. However, she didn't have the patience or the time to do so. Managing an empire and starting it from scratch was something that could not be done without hundreds or even thousands of years. Add to that the fact that the Central Divine Prefecture was the most valuable land, the 4 Wilderlands, and she had to search for another continent to establish a new empire and a new sacrificial altar. The people of the Central Divine Prefecture were the most valuable, followed by the 4 Wilderlands. Because the 4 Wilderlands were so close to the Central Divine Prefecture, the people of the Divine Prefecture had lived there since ancient times. As a result, the blood of the Divine Prefecture flowed through the people of the 4 Wilderlands. Because of that, the people of the 4 Wilderlands had the blood of the Divine Prefecture in their veins. Because of that, when the people of the 4 Wilderlands were gathered together to establish an empire, the power of the sacrificial offerings would be immense, second only to the Divine Prefecture. That was why the profound sect of the Immortal Tao resided in the Eastern Wilderlands. I know that other than that, there's another reason why the goddess is unable to unleash the full power of the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman. That's because the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman Emperor has altered something in the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman, distorting its origin. Old Man Desolate said, "Do you have a way to restore it?" Wu Dangkong's eyes flashed. It wasn't a secret that there was something wrong with the decree, and many of the old-timers knew about it. If it weren't for the fact that there were no problems, she would have long since formed her own faction. Why would she need to join this alliance? To scheme against the old-timers? By relying on the edict, he could suppress destiny and even subjugate some of the old-timers. It's actually very simple. As long as you awaken your essence and become the Emperor of Heaven's bright concubine, you'll be able to sense where the Emperor of Heaven is. Then, through your prayers, you'll be able to borrow the power of the Emperor of Heaven to remove the seal. In addition, as long as the Empress awakens her source, her aptitude will definitely not be below that of a heavenly king. She will be able to stand on equal footing with a heavenly king. In the future, as the imperial harem of the Emperor of Heaven, the Empress will hold a lot of authority and will be deeply trusted by the Emperor of Heaven, said the desolate old man. How do I awaken the source? Wu Dongkong's heart surged. She knew that her chance was right in front of her. It's still the power of sacrifice. Desolate old man said, the gate, Jin, heavenly king, controls the primeval dragon gate and has nearly 3,000 true god sacrifice. That's a huge power. Actually, the Empress can work with the gate, Jin, heavenly king, and borrow the power of the 3,000 true god sacrifice to instantly break through some kind of limit and awaken the Emperor of Heaven's bright concubine's essence. After all this talk, you're here to persuade me, not to rely on me. Wu Dongkong's expression turned cold. I'm afraid that the gate, Jin, heavenly king, has ulterior motives. He wants to obtain my edict so that he can take another step forward. We're in a chaotic world with one variable after another. Even those who are loyal to the future heavenly court are just watching the changes unfold. If the Emperor of Heaven were to come out, they might not be completely convinced. They might even want to replace him. If Gu Taxian didn't exist, they would still be obedient. But now, it's hard to say how loyal they are. Wu Dangkong was not a fool. How could she believe desolate old man's words? I can see that too. That's why I wholeheartedly pledged my allegiance to you. In the future, the gate, Jin, heavenly king of the heavenly court, will be a high-ranking official, but you are still the closest to the celestial arch. To be honest, if the celestial arch is unhappy, he can promote a new heavenly king at any time to take charge of the dragon gate of the untainted land. He will also be a gate, Jin, heavenly king. It's not impossible for the old gate, Jin, heavenly king, to be stripped of his origin and banished to the mortal world. You've said so much, but I still don't see your sincerity. Wu Dangkong remained calm. She would not release the eagle until she saw the rabbit. Your subordinate greets the Empress. Desolate old man actually prostrated in front of Wu Dangkong. In the blink of an eye, an enormous stream of sacrificial power shot up into the sky and converged on Wu Dangkong. Wu Dangkong's face lit up with delight. A glowing image appeared around her, which wrapped around the sacrificial power, then slowly refined it and absorbed it. In the blink of an eye, her cultivation base rose significantly. There were many ways to extract sacrificial power, but the Son of Heaven's God bestowment art was unique. Wu Dangkong had been cultivating the Son of Heaven's God bestowment art for a long time now, and had almost reached the consummate level. She had surpassed many ancient emperors, and therefore, as soon as she received desolate old man's sacrificial power, she was on the verge of a breakthrough. This desolate old man's sacrificial power is so strong, and some of the materials are rare. No wonder. He's a heavenly longevity realm old-timer. Since ancient times, even emperors have had to take celestials as their masters, let alone heavenly longevity realm experts. If I can get the sacrificial power of the Emperor of Heaven, the Dharma Saint, the Immortal Lord, and one Senshi, it will only be a matter of time before I awaken Concubine Ming's essence. And then there are the 3,000 gods and the heavenly kings. Wu Dangkong was elated. Now that all 9 heavenly kings have come out, I need them to offer sacrifices to me. I represent the Emperor of Heaven, and if the Emperor of Heaven doesn't come out, my position will be the most important. While Wu Dangkong was refining desolate old man's sacrificial power, she didn't notice that it contained something very difficult to detect. Gu Qinsha was still in Xin Prefecture City. Images of desolate old man and Wu Dangkong appeared in front of him. Their conversation, their actions, and even their thoughts were vivid and lifelike. At the same time, he could clearly see what was happening in the Urwild's Dragon Gate. Thanks to subjugating desolate old man, he had fused his own nascent divinity into his sacrificial power. With that, he could acquire the Urwild's Dragon Gate, as well as Wu Dongkong's heaven-offering decree and Wu Dongkong's concubine Ming's essence. In the future, Wu Dangkong would be Emperor of Heaven's concubine Ming. In fact, when the Emperor of Heaven was in the world, she would preside over the heavenly court and would be the spokesperson of the Emperor of Heaven. She would have incredible authority and would have power that could shake the myriad worlds. Now, Gu Chansha was using Desolate Old Man to fuse his nascent divinity into Wu Dangkong's sacrificial power. Although it was true that Emperor of Heaven could rapidly increase his strength and even make breakthroughs, over time, he would be completely under Gu Chencha's control. Furthermore, Gu Chensha could use Desolate Old Man as a link to make Wu Dangkong and the Jin Dynasty Heavenly King fight each other, while he would be the fisherman to reap the benefits. Of course, the most important thing was that he could learn the whereabouts of the Emperor of Heaven from Wu Dangkong, as well as the secrets of the Emperor of Heaven. In all of space-time, the boundless universe, the trillions of planes, the past, the present, and the future, the most important thing was the Emperor of Heaven. If he could subjugate the Emperor of Heaven and obtain the Emperor of Heaven's sacrificial power, Gu Chensha would be able to extract the true, limitless, invincible, and limitless substance that would allow him to make breakthroughs in all realms. This was the most important thing. There was a possibility that the Emperor of Heaven had already been born and was in the calming immortal department, but he had yet to awaken his source. Of course, Gu Chensha didn't think that he would be able to capture the Emperor of Heaven so easily. The Emperor of Heaven was the personification of the heavenly Tao. It could be said that the Emperor of Heaven was the heavenly Tao, and the heavenly Tao was the Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor of Heaven wasn't the son of the heavenly Tao. No matter how high Gu Chencha's cultivation base was, he knew that the battle between him and the Emperor of Heaven would be long and drawn out. It was impossible for him to succeed with such a small trick. However, small tricks were still necessary. Many a little makes a mickle, and many small victories made a big victory. This was the only way for Gu Chensha to succeed. I can't control the Emperor of Heaven, but I can control the Heavenly King of Jin. He will definitely descend and infiltrate my calming immortal department. Gu Chencha's gaze turned, and he observed everything in the Dragon Gate of Antiquity. In the depths of the Dragon Gate of Antiquity, the Heavenly King of Jin, who had transformed into an ordinary youth, was also observing the changes. At this time, inside the Dragon Gate of Antiquity, the 5 worlds were moving and wriggling. The power of the 5 elements was brewing, giving birth to mountains, rivers, stars, sun, and moon. The vitality of the Dragon Gate of Antiquity had been activated. When Gu Chensha first found the Dragon Gate of Antiquity, the first thing he saw was the 5 worlds outside the Dragon Gate. They were divided into the 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. He had wanted to collect them, but he wasn't as strong as he was now. Heavenly King, what should we do now? The providence of the Central Divine Prefecture is growing stronger and stronger. I think we have to do something about it. I've been observing for the past few days. The providence of the Eternal Dynasty is skyrocketing every day. Although ambitious and ruthless people are born every day, they are either suppressed or subdued. The demonic ape of chaos said to the Heavenly King of Jin, since ancient times, when dynasties were on the verge of destruction, ambitious people would descend from the heavens and cause chaos, paving the way for a true king. Some time ago, many stars descended, and it was the same with the devil Calamity. But now, the people who reincarnated from the stars have been dug out one by the calming immortal department. Not only have they not rebelled, but they've also worshipped the Tao of the calming immortal department. In addition, the demon domain has become a training ground for the imperial court. Not only has it not retaliated, but has also provided the Yonko with an endless supply of resources, allowing the talents inside to grow rapidly. I don't think the momentum is right. Hold down for 3 seconds to copy that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.